everybody. Welcome to Roundtable Live for May 6, 2016, joined by Michael A.O. Fox, Rockley Smile, and Northern Line. I'm Bear Taffy. Hi there. Welcome, everybody.
How's it going?
Hello.
We're so excited. Fox, welcome back to the show, replacing the not fired, but actually just taking a little sabbatical here to do some travel in his Mathis game. So, Fox, welcome back to the show. Good to have you again, man.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to be here.
You know why we call it a sabbatical?
Why
It's
do we
because
call
he's so bad.
Oh,
Oh!
Not you, Fox Mathis.
That's okay.
he's such a bad replacement. We got so much to talk about on the show today. It's a really fun docket. We're going to talk about the changes to Steam user reviews, which are basically all positive. Video Game Hall of Fame inductees for this year, which is a really fun story, too. I'm surprised we actually didn't even talk about that last year. Actually, we might have talked about that last year. I can't remember, but it did just start up last year, so there's the big scoop for the class of 2016. Also, quite a few games on the docket as well. Oh, and not to mention the Bethesda news. A little bit of stuff there, too. But games on the docket today include Neo, Battleborn, Overwatch, Momodora, Call of Duty, Battlefield. You know, like everything. Everything everyone plays is always on the docket today. That's going to be fun. And that, for the most part, I believe, is it. We are short one again today. I think the grouping is going to probably switch up quite a bit over the next few weeks or so. We know we still got travel coming up, and we'll figure it out.
Well, especially when we fire Mathis and no, we haven't talked about this yet. We're going to demote you.
Me?
Fox is going to take your spot. Nick's going to become the audio engineer.
Sure.
And I'm just not going to be here. Ever. This is the last show.
You'll be our general ruling from the Iron Throne. I started watching Game of Thrones. I want to quickly throw shade at the HBO Now app on the Xbox One. I know this is just a contentious hot button issue for everybody. Why does it dim the screen automatically? And there's no way to change it. Why is that by default?
You're
While
saying
I'm
when you
playing
watch-
back video on the HBO One or the HBO Now app on the Xbox One.
HBO One.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm playing back a video and it just dims the screen and there's no way to change it. And this is the most minute thing that I could be so upset about, but I can't change it, and that's
What do you mean?
what's so
What do you mean
frustrating.
it dims the screen?
It dims the screen.
The screen.
Exactly. So like 10 minutes into watching something on the Xbox One, it dims the screen, and I can't figure out how to change it.
It's because it thinks you're idle.
I know. It shouldn't do that during video playback. Right?
Just wiggle the analog stick a little bit.
I know, but it's so that's why I'm saying this is the most minute thing I could get so worked up about, because I don't want to have to make that maneuver. I want them to take care of me to that degree.
It sounds like it's just a bug. Like, they'll
probably
just
just a
fix
bug.
that eventually.
Yeah, I think it's actually brand new to the. Oh, by the way, for those like me who have been putting off watching Game of Thrones until they had like a legitimate, valid way to do it, you have that option now. Because HBO Now has a free 1-month trial for their entire library of shows and movies. So there you go. Saved
It's
you a
so
little bit of
weird that
money.
it happened to line up right when the new season of Game of Thrones started, right?
Weird,
like, what
right?
are the odds
yeah,
of that happening?
Such a bizarre happenstance. I
We're
can't
so
believe
lucky.
it.
I read like 4 seasons of spoilers about Game of Thrones yesterday,
Oh
so
my god.
I'm pretty much set.
Wow. You haven't seen the show either, I'm guessing.
I saw the first season, and then I just kind of filled in the blanks.
It's
pretty
filled in
good.
what? No. That doesn't work. I saw the first season. You can't fill in the blanks after that.
I filled in the blanks on Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a lot more sense. I thought you just like guessed. Basically, you're like,
No.
okay, well, I've seen enough of these characters to really figure out what's going on for the rest of the 5 seasons. It's a good program. I know I'm probably opening up a lot of people's eyes with that observation.
Yeah,
but
it's not very popular. Maybe you'll be the one to turn people onto
hopefully
it.
people can be exposed now. All right. Let's talk about Steam's changes to the user review mode. One common theme, just reading verbatim here, one common theme Valve has seen in their customer feedback about the Steam review system is that it's not always easy to tell what the current experience is like in a game months after release. This, of course, is a much more prevalent issue with early access becoming a lot more common in the game industry. And now they've made these changes to allow you to see the most recently posted reviews in a separate segment next to the aggregate of all of the reviews. So pretty much just a net positive here for everybody, I'd say. Just a really, really good change made by Steam here.
Yeah, I can't think of how many times a game has come out in early access, and basically what's happened is people write bad reviews about it, then it gets patched for a while, and then it actually becomes a lot more usable, and then all that people still see is it's the net aggregate of all the bad reviews and not the ones that are actually useful anymore. So yeah, this might help push them in a better direction toward fixing that.
Yeah, and one of the other big issues with launches or the reviews that come in as soon as the game is launched. Of course, early access is a whole nother beast. But when you look at games that have a bunch of PC port issues or otherwise just have a bunch of problems upon release, but may otherwise be a good game, those often end up just getting inundated with tons of negative reviews right out of the gate, which can be kind of difficult to work from at that point. But now, luckily, we at least get to have, there's the separation between, okay, everybody had a terrible experience with this at launch, but now the people that are playing it after the fixes have been coming out, a couple of hot fixes and patches and whatnot, and now the game appears to be a lot better. And that's going to be really helpful, I think, for a lot of folks.
Hold up. Did you say inundated?
Inundated, yeah.
Did I say inundated?
Yeah.
Is that not a word?
No,
it's inundated.
inundated. It's
Now,
not inundated.
That is
I was going to let it
pedantic.
go. I
That
didn't
is
think we needed to call it out.
Come on. That is the littlest thing. That's like
I was going to let it go.
That's like an HBO Now screen dim app complaint.
It's also called HBO Go, and I've been
There's
waiting
HBO
on...
Now.
There's Now.
Fuck you. There's
There's
HBO Now. Boom.
I signed up. Whoa, he knocked his headphones off.
There's both. There's
Guess
both.
I'll just go HBO Go fuck myself.
That's right. Thanks for turning that around
HBO
for me.
Go do it. HBO Now.
They hate Canada. Actually, HBO Go will go fuck you for you, Ryan. Don't worry.
HBO Go will go fuck you for you.
I'm happy about this Steam thing. I mean, I don't think there's many people against it. They say it in the tagline or the headline, right? Like it's an evolving landscape of game releases, early access, like little micro updates and stuff like that. You look at freaking Darkest Dungeon, right? And they tell you it's like, the Git build 14,000 and bullshit. And I know those are small changes and stuff, but it used to be you get a game on a cartridge, that was it. It didn't change forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now things are changing overnight, so...
Yeah, it kind of correlates to the conversation we were having last week about all the changes that are having to be made with just how quickly technology is shifting. And this is, not exactly the biggest change to be made, but it is certainly in the group of things that were kind of necessary now that, as you mentioned, the early access and all those different sorts of development patterns have started to become a lot more popular. In fact, I think it's basically just unheard of anymore to release a game and then just never touch it again, right? Like almost everything has to be patched, polished these days.
Ports, a lot of old ports say something that came out on Xbox 2 years ago, like big companies will release
as far as new releases,
they'll just
right?
be done.
Like new games coming out this year probably are going to continually be updated as time goes on.
Yeah, you're right.
And then of course the shelf life expires, and that's a different story. Yeah,
is there a downside to this at all?
No,
that
I'm trying
anyone
to
can
think
come
of
with?
one.
I can't really come up with one at all.
I don't know what the devil's advocate side of this would be. It's just, I think, a net positive for everybody who relies on Steam user reviews. That's kind of a different part of it that I wanted to touch on as well, is how much you guys are really utilizing Steam user reviews. I know we actually kind of poke fun at them a lot on this show. We'll go through. I tweeted one the other day that was amazing to me. It was for this just a new MOSA game, and it just said, this is better than both Ark and DayZ. I haven't played Ark, but I've heard rumors about it. Well, that, in a nutshell, just encapsulated Steam user reviews for me. But at the same time, they are, for the most part, a good way to check out just the aggregate opinion of people on games. So
you have to own the game to post a user review for it?
You do.
Yes.
This was a review for a different game, though, not for Ark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I actually use Steam reviews a lot, and I think they're effective with context. Like, if you have a game that has controversy and it has negative or mostly negative recommendations, you have to be like, okay, well, what's the problem with this, and does it affect me? Is the developer, do they politically lean in one way or the other, and that's caused them to get review bombed, or is this a situation where, I know Hitman is kind of getting it where it hurts right now because they're releasing exclusive content on PS4 before putting it on PC, and then people are like, well, why did I buy in on PC with the promise of new content coming, and then it's coming to PS4 first?
Yeah.
So as long as you have context, I think it's valuable. But when I get like review requests for early access stuff, I will oftentimes like step one go to the store page and be like, if this has like a mostly negative like 50 to 65% on Steam or a mixed 65 to 70, then there's a good chance that I'm just going to be like, I'm not going to spend my time on it. Like it could be one of those ones that grabs me, but my due diligence in some ways has been done for me, and it's kind of been pre-selected as something that's maybe a little bit iffy.
Yeah.
Wow. This guy won't even do his own job.
In a kind of a weird way, I think they're also useful as something to use to help understand like the general consensus on something that you're having an issue with in an early access game. For example, if there's a problem with the controls and you're not sure if maybe it's just the way my computer's handling the game because things are buggy, you can kind of tease out some of the more minute details from people posting that info in there. So in that way, I think that's quite useful too.
Was it Slain?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I booted it up, and Nick was like, "The controls on this are really bad." And then I went to Steam as well, and then the reviews were like, "The controls on this are really bad."
Mm-hmm.
It seems so bad that it was like, how could this just be me? Like, is this? They must have seen that. How did they not sort it? So maybe it's just my computer. Like, I don't know. I had to wonder.
Fox, you tend to rely on Steam user reviews. Where's your where do you go to now for the most part for your reviews and for your opinions?
You guys, mostly.
Us?
Honestly.
Thanks. No, I was trying to set that up, the little softball there for you.
We do have that occasionally. We'll go back and forth.
I'm in a little bit of a different situation than you guys, as we were actually just talking about before stream, right? I mean, because I don't do this full time, so my ability to do a lot of research and read reviews and stuff is a bit more condensed, and a lot of times I'll spend free time playing games I have been playing for a while, or doing stuff on streams, like a lot of times at the NLSS, right? So It's kind of like play the games that they get codes to and that they have already vetted. So it's kind of like, all right, well, this is great. I get to sit back and
you're not on the front lines anymore,
fun, right? So but I mean, I think I on occasion I have gone into Steam reviews and I've looked at them, and I like how they show you, anybody could just go out there and, like, I could make a video on YouTube and I could say this game is great or this game is shitty, but you don't necessarily know if I've even played it, right? I do like how I go into Steam and I can see, oh, this person's put 40 hours into this game, like their opinion's kind of fair. When you see somebody's only put an hour into it, sometimes that's just like the tutorial, right? And you can't judge a game based on the tutorial.
The dude with 1,000 hours is like, don't waste your time.
That's my favorite one, man, by far. The dudes that have fucking
one
1,400 hours and are just like, this is the worst game I've ever played. You should never play this.
I've spent 0.5% of my entire life playing this game, and I regret it. It's like, well, you should have stopped yourself ages ago,
almost
man.
At that point, it's almost like just cathartic for them, right? It's like a therapeutic process of, okay, look, I've invested so much into this that now I have to tell everybody why I'm so distraught now at having to not recommend it.
Do you think that they think that it establishes their credibility more to have more hours? Because I see it the other way, that it actually takes their credibility away if they have a contradictory opinion with that many hours.
I agree. Yeah. I don't trust anybody that would willingly do something they hate for that long.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like for me, you have discounted your own opinion by, like, you're like, oh, this food's horrible, but I can't stop eating it. It tastes like shit, but I'm so full. Give me some more, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
We got Frozen Ryan for that sentence too. I'm not sure what's going on there.
It's an unfortunate pose.
Yeah.
It'll work.
I don't know.
Okay, we got it.
Reviews, I mean, it's nice that they're addressing the fact that games do definitely differ. A few weeks after their launch, they can fix up a lot of stuff, and that can, just tweaking one thing can change the balancing, and that can change your entire enjoyment of the game a fair bit. But I still find, like, whether it comes to movies or music or games and stuff, I generally focus more on a specific person or few people, right? You get to know certain people, certain reviewers, right? That's why the YouTube and streaming is so great, because somebody says, oh, I really, like, I've watched this guy, he's got generally the same taste as me, so if he I'm going to watch him play a game. If he kind of likes it, then there's a good chance I'll like it. If he doesn't like it, so on and so forth. I have a very similar relationship with one of my brothers, right? He's been playing games and watching movies and all this stuff for years, and every time he's recommended something, I've been like, this is fantastic. So I've come to trust him. I don't even need really to see, okay, he's put this much time into it, or he has to say this or that about it. We know each other. So, I still think it's nice to have the Steam stuff there, the kind of the communal reviews and all that, but there's still, yeah.
No, I think I tend to basically agree with you there in that, for the most part, at least this is true for me as well, I tend to get most of my news, most of my opinions on games from just like a select group that I have come to identify as people whose opinion I trust more or less. And we got to remember, too, the Steam Curator system, of course, exists as well. I mean, I think we all probably forgot about that since it's
We had a good month of caring about that.
We did, yeah. I've got mine up right now. I'm trying to remember the last time I reviewed something there. It turns out it was in February for Ori and the Blind Forest. But, yeah, I mean, we have that, too, which I think is sort of Steam's way to try to provide a means by which to keep people just on Steam for getting those opinions, right? Because obviously the more traffic they can get on their store, the better. But
Yeah.
It's sort of fallen to the wayside. But it is certainly indicative of the fact that, yeah, people tend to just want to trust either just certain people or a certain group of people to get their recommendations these days. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think just in general, though, these changes are a net positive. I think we still use Steam user reviews for quite a bit of our information, and the fact that they've made this change shows that A, they're listening, and B, they're doing smart stuff. So kudos to them.
I really like that Steam user reviews only give you the option for a thumbs up and thumbs down. Mm-hmm. I think it's a very smart decision so that you don't end up with the bullshit that's on every other site with user reviews where half of it's a 10 and then half of it's a 1 because the people want to give it a 4, but they're mad about the 10s, so they give it a 1 to try to balance it. And then everyone gives it a 10. If they like it, they think it's actually an 8, but somebody else gave it a 1 when they should have given it a 4. So now it's only like, who gave it a 10, who gave it a 1?
Yeah.
And then that's your percent.
That's a good point and a great segue for later.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to get into that more next for the Ask Roundtable segment later on. I want to transition this sort of neatly into, while Steam continues to improve their platform, Bethesda insists that they have one of their own. Introducing Bethesda's new launcher. This was actually leaked in a thread on NeoGAF. Apparently Bethesda's working on their own launcher a la Origin or Uplay or Steam or Battle.net or Social Club or, just any of the ridiculous myriad of launchers that we have available to us now. I'm sort of pissed about this, honestly. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it.
Why would we be positive either?
Why would you be positive?
We're sick of it.
A good point.
There's nothing to be positive about. I mean, like, for most people, I guess I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of people who play a ton of Skyrim, and we have friends. Mike and I have friends who have played Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 and probably now Fallout 4 just over and over for like 6 or 7 years. Yeah. But like, it will make me do the thing I do with EA now, where like your game has to be awesome if I'm actually going to play it. Mm-hmm. Like, if I already was kind of like about it, then it just makes me much less likely to get it. Unless if it's an optional thing, that's fine. Like, if you can get it on Steam and it'll launch directly there and you don't need to have the Bethesda launcher, then that's fine. But if it's mandatory, the way Origin is, or the way Uplay kind of like stealth boots through Steam, then it's frustrating.
But I mean, like, what's ultimately what's the benefit other than, it's more recognition and it's more of Bethesda in your face and like a way to promote and advertise their other games and stuff. I mean, from a logistics framework system perspective, is it going to be any better than Steam? I mean, you got Steam updates they update is good.
Yeah.
The Steam store, it's quick and easy to find games. Like I was for a good chunk of time last year, I was streaming Skyrim, and I was adding mods and stuff like that. I mean, you use the Nexus mods and all that stuff, but that's external of Steam. So unless maybe they have mod support and management built into this somehow, then maybe that's that's cool.
They do have
Doom has a thing coming up with Snap Map, so they'll probably have some sort of workshop support for it. I would hope.
They've got all we have is like 2 little screen grabs that somebody managed to capture for the alpha version of the launcher, which I guess is what they're currently running. There's like a mods tab on there, so I think it's pretty clear that that's a route that they're going to be going. There's a redeem code tab as well, which is interesting just because that means this is not just a launcher that's like sort of an interrupt between Steam and playing anything made by Bethesda. Bethesda is going to try to create a store platform here that is going to be a competitor with Steam, but only offers Bethesda titles, I would imagine, which just... I mean, okay, so I'm in favor of competition to Steam, right? But I'm not in favor of yet another publisher/developer that is creating a launcher that is exclusive to their properties.
Well, yeah, this is like, it's like maybe I don't like Payless shoes.
Yeah.
But I want there to be competition for Payless shoes. But this is like Birkenstock is like, we're not selling our shoes anywhere but at this one specific location that you have to go to. And you're like, well, but I got the loyalty card for Payless. Like, why don't you just go all the way and think like you're But I mean, as soon as you make the decision to go with a proprietary launcher, there's no winning, because the best case scenario is people are like, okay, I'll deal with it. You do get if they buy it on your platform and you make it so they can't buy it on Steam, you get the extra 30%, but you're going to exclude a lot of your audience. If you make it so you can buy it on Steam, then Steam still gets their cut, and then people are resentful of the fact that they actually have to boot the extra launcher once they launch your game, the same way Uplay works right now. So, I mean, unless there's behind-the-scenes stuff, like maybe it allows them to integrate their own DRM in a way that we're not privy to, and they consider that to be a priority, that's cool, but like... Bethesda comes
Steam's
out.
DRM good enough though? Isn't Steam's
that's what you
fine?
gotta ask, right? Yeah.
I mean, why does Uplay still exist? I have to imagine that there's something to do with like their netcode that's baked into Uplay, and they're like, everything has to use this because we've built, like, it's the foundation for our multiplayer or online connectivity. But for Bethesda, they come out with like 2 games a year that are huge, right? This year is going to be Doom. And they had Fallout 4 in November. Yep. And before that, it was like, I guess it was Skyrim. In
2011 or 12?
Well, that was 2011. They had Fallout 3 was 2012, I think, right?
Fallout 3 was like 2009 or something.
Was it? Oh, my God. That's crazy.
Obviously, you're not going to launch a proprietary distribution platform without planning on distributing more games than their very meager catalog. So... This is obviously them trying to step in and take a little bit of a market share. I have to believe, though, that it's going to backfire if they don't do it a very specific way, and that's to leave it an open platform, allow you to buy it on Steam and also their platform, and have it not launch through their thing, and eventually try and entice people little by little over with positive stuff, not negative, closing doors and slamming them in your face kind of things.
Right.
So I think that's the only way to make that sale.
That sounds great. And there's like a 1% chance they do it that way, I think. I'm almost certain this is just going to be another Origin type story where they're big enough now, they feel, and I sort of believe them in saying this, although I obviously don't agree with the decision, to make this a thing. Like they've got enough properties and they've got enough stuff in the pipeline to where now it makes sense for us to have an entry into this catalog of impedances to playing games that gamers really just wish would stop existing.
I bet who else is probably going to have one of these soon is GameStop.
I was just going to say.
No, you're right. Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised.
Oh, that's easily the next logical step for them too. God damn it.
They could do a joint venture or something. I don't know, it's just like it's dumb. Well, okay, Steam is like an actual, like you go to a public library, like I want a book on gardening, I want a book on cooking, whatever. They got it there.
Yeah.
Just think of an actual going to a library. It's like, sorry, we exclusively have Harry Potter.
We have the Apple Store, right? And that makes sense. I don't want the fucking I don't want to go to a specific store for a specific product in any circumstance, like ever. Yeah. I'd just like for it to all be in the same place. If it's obviously that's a generic stretch of that observation, but like if it's in the same general category, it should all be available in the same distribution platform. That just,
Yeah.
I wish that were the case.
Like, unless maybe if they do a thing where, so Steam, they sell it $60 US, right?
Yeah.
Or 80
Yep.
Canadian, because we get just hosed.
It's such a Canadian way to say it, too.
A great way to
Frustrating.
get I don't know, because I don't buy games through Uplay or Origins or anything like that, but
Has
maybe
anyone,
it's,
out of curiosity, ever
Bought
bought
games on
I've-
Origin.
ever bought
Every game
ever bought
codes
a
that they've
game?
provided me.
Yeah,
I bought Sim City when that came out,
okay.
I guess.
I bought
I
that.
bought
on
SimCity.
Far Cry Primal.
Okay.
You bought it through Uplay though, or through Steam?
Oh yeah, I guess it was through Steam, wasn't it?
Well, there
but
we
it still
go.
opens through Uplay. Yeah, you're right. It
Yeah.
was through
I bought Mass Effect 2 and all the DLC on Origin, which that was like a time travel machine, man. Because you got to like go to the BioWare forums and get like bio credits or something.
What?
So you put in like real money, and they give you like an arbitrary token currency.
Oh, that
and
was
then you
that was
use
way
those-
back in the day.
Yeah, you use those tokens to pay for the DLC, but it never like adds up to the correct intervals. So you're always like, oh, I got 130 bio credits left. What am I gonna do with that?
But you go to the forums and there's like a tool that you use, or you like have to talk to a mod and then they're like send my PayPal.
No.
You gotta hope
it's-
somebody's online in the forums to talk to you.
There is a checkout system, thankfully.
Oh.
It's to me it's silly too. I like to consolidate stuff as much as I can, and I remember because I had my, you put your credit card and other information in Origin and all these other systems, right? And I think it was earlier last year, I got 3 emails a few minutes apart, and it's like, thanks for your purchase of this, this, and this, and they were each $60 games. I was like, the fuck? I haven't even touched. It wasn't even installed on my computer at the
Yeah.
time. And so I spent an hour just trying to go through support and be like, hey, I didn't buy these games. Can you like fix this? And then I had to wait a week just to get the refund back on my credit card and all this stuff. And I was just like,
Jeez.
I don't need that. It's just complicating my life and eating away. So, I understand Bethesda, they're trying to be a bigger deal. They want to be up there with the big dogs like EA and whatnot. And this is probably their like, oh, well, this is what all the big corporate companies do. They have their system. So maybe
I
that's
love this.
part
This is
of
what they
the-
do in the board meetings.
what they do.
Where you gotta figure out what all these big companies are doing to succeed in this
Johnson,
modern market.
We need more money. I've been jerking off to Invisible Dudes.
No, yeah, it's all just a big circle jerk around the boardroom.
But I like it. It better be freaking good. That's all I can say. I mean,
Well,
there's
what do you
no.
want out of it? That's the big question. Is like, what does it have to really get
I don't
you to
know.
switch? Like, I'm not
Maybe-
going to use this. The only reason I would use this as just a standard gamer is to launch the games I own from Bethesda. There's no appeal here to be like, oh, well, what's in the Bethesda launcher today? What's all this new information that I can gather
like,
exclusively here?
Look at what Origin already does to get you to use it, and nobody cares.
They give you
Like,
games every month. I don't even launch it to get the free
exactly.
games.
Every month they're like, "Hey, here's your choice of like 6 free games," and people are like, "I'd still rather just
gotta
use Steam."
open it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you compete with that as Bethesda. Like, they're not going to give you a free copy of Fallout 4
Yeah.
for using their system. So they'll be like, okay, give me Skyrim. Well, everybody on Earth already owns it. Give me a free copy of The Evil Within. I mean, it is free, but it's a couple of years old. I guess I'm not really
free
like,
either.
yeah, like it seems from a consumer perspective so backwards that you're just going to be like, well, it's just annoying. It's
Yeah.
like just adding one more step between playing the game and purchasing it that is silly. But who knows, man? I mean, again, maybe it's worth it for them. If they can convince 5% of the PC audience, 95% will still buy it on Steam. If 5% buy it on their launcher, then
Worth
sure.
it, I guess. Well, yeah, I guess if you consider it that way, how many resources did they really have to devote to creating this thing? And then if it ends up creating that extra profit, I suppose it may be worth it. But is that? I mean, you got to argue value versus goodwill at that point, I suppose. Do you
That's
want to?
the thing. That's why BattleNet can get away with it and Bethesda can't, because they don't have that goodwill.
Yeah.
right?
And GOG Galaxy too.
Right.
People are like, GOG is a small company. They have like their own kind of niche that people respect them for. So sure, I'll buy The Witcher on your platform instead of buying it on Steam. But it's also still on Steam, which is good.
And with Galaxy too, I mean, we're looking at that is more of a direct competitor to Steam than any of these just publisher exclusive launchers, because you actually have offerings from a great variant or a great variety of developers and publishers. So it's just by itself already worth a lot more than a new entry like this. There's so little to offer here that I really
all
have
they
a
could
hard time
offer is a
being
sale,
positive.
really,
Yeah.
right? Like all they could say is we'll just market all our newest games as loss leaders, and we'll put them whatever the cut was that Steam would have taken. We'll just give that cut to you, taken off the total.
Not even the whole thing. They could say, so the $60, Steam would get 30% of that. Just maybe put it on their Bethesda launcher and reduce the overall price by like 15%. So they're actually still getting 15% more, but it's also 15% savings for people. So it's kind of a more of a reason to be like, well, yeah, I could get it on Steam and have it there with all my other games for the full price, and it's nice. Or I can, hey, I want to save a few bucks. Okay, whatever. So I open up this launcher, but I'm saving, $5 or $10.
Honestly, I think you've got to do something a lot more drastic, though, to get people's attention, because they're very complacent in the idea of just continuing using Steam. So if you can tell somebody you're going to get this game for $20 off on launch, and it'll be preloaded and ready to go, and it will work flawlessly, but you can also do that with Steam, and it's $20 more, like, that might be enough to get people's attention. If it's just 5 or 10, I don't know.
No, I think you're basically right there. That may be one of the very few things that they have available to them, is just to be able to cut out that Steam cut that would normally be taking place, and instead provide, like, we pass the savings on to you. Like that's basically what the Bethesda launcher is.
There has to be something there, though, right? Like if Bethesda on their own launcher was like, hey, Doom's $45, wouldn't GameStop be like, no, it fucking isn't?
Well, no, they have they list it as minus X% off, only available at the Bethesda launch, right? Like that's.
Yeah, well, I feel like if you were GameStop and you're sending your rep to talk to Bethesda's rep, you'd be like, okay, well, when Doom comes out, we're gonna hide it in the back of the store and like advertise something that actually gives us a better cut.
I see what you're saying.
Well, they just put themselves in that market against GameStop, so obviously that sort of rivalry would take place. That's just the way it works. Then
I think how many people I'm talking about, like, if you come out with something like Doom that's going to be on consoles as well as on PC. Like I mean, I guess a lot of people are buying them digitally, but there's got to be a lot of boxed units still being moved. Like there's got to be, it would surprise me to a great deal if it was legal in their like business arrangements to be like, okay, we're going to distribute it to you guys at $60, then we're going to undercut you on our own store by like a meaningful percentage within the first like hour of release.
They're certainly not making any friends like that, right? But I mean, like Nick said, maybe that's the direction they're ready to go at this point. Maybe they're willing to cut.
They see GameStop dying off, and GameStop's becoming a publisher. So maybe they're all becoming different competitors in a different realm.
I think we're a little too far off in hypothetical territory. I don't think Bethesda's taking on brick and mortar GameStop right now. I think it's not as simple probably to say that they can just cut them out.
Hypothetically speaking, though, this is the thing that makes me the most okay with this as an idea, is that they could offer something like that. Like that's the only thing that really puts me at ease, honestly, about it.
The reality is they probably won't offer much of anything, and then we'll go, all right, whatever, moving on.
Yeah.
We were just coming up with a situation where it could be possible that we'd be interested.
That's what gets me, though, is so we've already seen Origin and Uplay, right? And the internet is full of people with generally like, I don't like this. There's no way you don't do the whole effort of making this launcher without some due diligence, right? So it's beyond me to think that they're just going to make a launcher and not do something else different there's going to be backlash otherwise. If they just say, all right, you can buy it on Steam for $60, you can buy it on Bethesda for $60, or whatever. Like, I don't want some gimmicky, like, well, you can get Bethesda points and stuff. Doesn't Uplay do that? You get points and stuff, and who gives a shit?
Just
Like,
stop it, man. All of that
Yeah,
shit has just got to
get an
stop.
Ezio Auditore hood for your Uplay avatar.
Exactly
Like,
what it is every time.
who cares, man?
It is like, but you just keep getting that reward, right? You just put more hoods on for your avatar.
I've got
like
so
that.
many hidden blades and Ezio Auditore hoods, and the thing, the other thing is that with Steam, people are like, well, why does Steam get a free pass? It's not fair, but I kind of think of Steam as the same way that I think of like Google. Google has a lot of power. They have a lot of our personal information. We use them for email and web hosting and DNS servers and YouTube and et cetera, et cetera. Like, would it be better for the world to have those services segmented a little bit to other companies? Maybe, but they have like a good reputation right now. Like, they haven't given most people a reason to actually hate them, even though there are bad experiences that are out there. Steam is kind of like that. They're the default because people have used them, and they haven't really given people like a huge reason to dislike them.
Besides
Christmas. There was the caching security risk on Christmas. Yeah, and
Paid
customer
mods.
support is bad. Paid mods, yeah, but I don't know. Like,
no, I'm not saying that was bad, but it was definitely a
It's like
controversial
fuel
thing.
for the fire, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean. But and the same thing with Facebook. You could make a better Facebook, and people actually don't like Facebook, largely, I'd say. But in order to, all your shit's already there. So in order to get you to be excited about another social network or another, distribution platform, it doesn't just have to be better. It has to be like a lot better, like meaningfully so, and it has to capture like everything that the other one already does. So I feel like it's not. I mean, I don't think Bethesda's launcher can be that, but maybe that's not what they're going for.
Not to like pimp it out or anything, but look at what Discord did to Skype, at least in the gaming community. That's sort of what you have to do because Skype is so
Send people
solidly
hoodies.
established and isn't really even that great, but just everyone knows it, everyone uses it, and it's just the easiest way to do things because everyone is already on Skype, right? That's basically the same thing. Everybody is already using Steam. So what Discord did was offer something that is demonstrably better and just got people hyped as fuck about it. And just used this big grassroots campaign of getting streamers and YouTube people interested and started to like really just push it and propagate it as much as they could everywhere. And that's almost what you have to do. We're not trying to give Steam a free pass, but like Ryan said, I like that Google comparison actually, just because, like both of them, they have basically the same sort of dominance in their fields, and they haven't really given people a lot of reason to distrust them. And they're in general doing things well, too. Like we got to say, like Steam, for the most part, does not fuck stuff up. So we're kind of just like okay with it.
Right.
We recognize the value of competition and like the absence of a monopoly, but we, at the same time, are just sort of content with the offering we have, I think.
There's one other point, and I think this might be another motive that we kind of glossed over, and that's why they would even bother to get into this industry in the first place. And it might just be to harvest information for analytic information, for demographic information, to sell it to other third parties, because who knows what the hell we've agreed to anymore.
Yeah, that was another point I was going to make, actually, is that you do have to
kinda
create an
big.
account to use it, too. So that is more than likely the case.
Give them your address when you pay for something, put in your credit card information.
That stuff might be more worth it to them than the actual margin they make on the games.
They're like monitoring like when you buy the game. Like people buy games at 2 a.m. a lot. Like the fuck, like like every little metric, right? And they can sell that and to publishers and developers and stuff. And who knows, maybe they are. But, I mean, it's one of those things, right? You use Google, it's free. Of course, you're gonna get ads spammed in your face. But at the same time, some people say like, oh, I don't want them selling my usage information, but that gets spit out to hopefully make a better product in the end for the next, iteration of products, right? It's like, all right, we're trying to figure out what you like and what you want. And sometimes people have these weird mental things of saying like, I don't necessarily know what I like or what I want.
I need you to tell me.
Your behavior doesn't lie, right?
Yeah.
It's like I could say Citizen Kane is my favorite movie.
That's how
right?
we get Assassin's Creed every
But
year.
I actually watch like Showgirls twice a day or something, right? But I'm not gonna say that. But that comes through. So then, of course, they're gonna say, "Oh, okay, well, this guy actually watches this type of shit a lot. He talks about this, but he watches this, so we're gonna make more of that." So
Now I'm all,
tangent.
I don't know why I just started thinking about this, but I'm all self-conscious that my marketing is all fucked up because I used to watch Saving Silverman just when it was on TV. Because that's all they ever
Yeah.
showed on Comedy Central for about a year or two is just reruns of Saving Silverman. So now I'm
you have a
hoping
Nielsen
nobody
box?
thinks I like it. That's the problem.
You had to participate in a program for them to know what you were watching on cable
Oh,
generally.
okay, that's true. Yeah,
So you're probably fine. Unless you meant Netflix.
the Nielsen box, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nielsen families. I know them.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was fun. Yeah, Bethesda launcher's stupid. Hopefully it doesn't suck balls though.
Dude, when you put the VOD up, just edit it so that's the only part for the segment.
It's like 15 minutes long.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's dumb. Fuck it. Okay. Let's move on to the. Well, we had a story that we were generally positive about. We had a story that we're generally negative about. So let's have a story that we don't really have any strong opinions about whatsoever. It's the Video Game Hall of Fame. Inducted games this year from the 2016 finalists. I just want to read down the list real quick here of the games that were nominated and were finalists for the 2016 entry class to the Hall of Fame. The games here are Elite, Final Fantasy, Grand Theft Auto 3, John Madden Football, The Legend of Zelda, Minecraft, Nürburgring, German racing game Nürburgring, released. I didn't know about this. Released in 1975, changed the popular racing game genre forever. Oh shit. The Oregon Trail, Pokemon Red and Green, Sid Meier's Civilization, The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, Space Invaders, Street Fighter 2, and Tomb Raider.
Yo, you can't throw like 20 games a year into the Hall of Fame.
No, these are the
No, they
finalists.
gotta-
These are the finalists. So
Okay.
they whittled it down. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to present it that way. So out of that list, the ones that made it in this year were The Sims, Space Invaders, Grand Theft Auto 3, The Legend of Zelda, and The Oregon Trail. Oh, and Sonic the
Here's a
Hedgehog
weird
as well.
question.
Controversial.
I don't think I know what Elite is, unless you mean like Elite Dangerous. Is it something to do with that?
No, Elite was released in 1984. It was developed in
you don't
Great
mean
Britain.
that.
No, I don't. Not at all. It was considered one of the pioneers of the open world ship roaming the galaxy games sort of things.
It's like a 4X thing or something?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's like the progenitor to Elite Dangerous, is it not? It's like
It probably
you're
is.
you're like a
Sounds like
space privateer or something flying around.
It looks like the box reminds me of Elite Dangerous as well. So that's as close as I can get. But there's the inducted class for 2016 was.
Who runs this?
Who picks it? Who picks
Yeah,
it?
that's important. So this is run by the Strong. It's the National Museum of Play out of New York. Yeah, no, they're just called the Strong. I love it. So it is, it's about what you would expect. It's a grouping of the world's elite game journalists, people that have had influence in the industry, and they just sort of have it like they do the Oscars, where they just got that panel of experts that all vote on the nominations. Anybody can actually nominate a game for the Video Game Hall of Fame as well. Sorry, I forgot to change the topic
I
there.
nominate Proteus.
There you go. You can do it, man.
I nominate
Why not?
Curse of Monkey Island.
So No,
This
yeah,
Hall
go
of
ahead.
Fame is got to get like there's the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. It's run by Major League Baseball. There's the NFL Hall of Fame. It's run by the NFL, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, like what I sort of just see it as kind of like a little circle jerky to have like how many gaming Hall of Fames are out there? There's like 1,000.
Yeah.
You can just go to game rankings, sort by reviews all time, and like basically there's your Hall of Fame as well. I mean, I kind of like. Here's what I would love to see is a game or two a year getting into like the congressional library. That would be a mark of like serious cultural distinction. But like a curated list of the best games of all time, quote unquote Hall of Fame, is just like,
I don't know if
Come
it's
on.
necessarily like they're trying to tell you like what are the best games of all time. I think it's more focused on the idea of which of these games have been the most influential and the most defining for the genre, which I think they've done a good job of, curating and selecting finalists and actual inductees as far as that's concerned. Like the first class, for example, included things like Pong, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Tetris. So like the critical core games that really just sort of like define an entire decade in certain circumstances, So World of Warcraft was, of course, included as well. Super Mario Brothers got in there. Doom, the original Doom, got in. So, like, I think it's as close to that idea of legitimacy for something like this as we can get. It's, you know, the International Center for the History of Electronic Games. Like, it's got that air of legitimacy to it.
You know, I'm kind of iffy about it personally. I mean, I look at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it took them how many 30-odd years to put Rush in there, for crying out loud?
Don't even get me started.
They put Green Day. They put like Green Day and Alanis Morissette in there before they put Rush
Oh, no.
in there, and it's just like, come on, like, and there were a lot of people that were angry about that too. So it's just like,
I know a couple of them.
In this room.
Yeah.
I think,
it's
Nick,
go
what's your opinion of the video game
Is there
Hall of
anything
Fame?
really meaningful that this brings to the discussion that's new about classifying these as classics or influential? Because I feel like we can already pretty much unilaterally agree that they are. So what is putting them up on a pedestal really going to say when they've already been put up on so many pedestals? Why does this distinction mean more than every other distinction? And why does it matter at all?
I mean, they kind of just decided, I guess. I'm not going to pretend to understand the entirety of the process here of like how they
The
decided.
criteria, I guess, of how they picked them is important, and the fact that they weren't totally transparent about that maybe makes it a little less important to me to care about it.
Yeah, fair enough. But as far as the actual selections, do you guys feel like of the finalists I listed there, it sounds like they more or less have the cream of the crop, right?
a safe list.
They've
Yeah.
got the usual suspects, man. I've seen these lists like 100 times. They could probably have a lot more that are very influential too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
like,
I think that's the idea, is that, you know, like every year they're going to continually add on to it, obviously. But, I mean, they've got nominees as recent as Minecraft as well. You know, like they're not just going back and trying to find the games that everybody agrees is amazing, but at the same time,
I don't understand why Minecraft isn't in it, honestly.
Yeah.
It will be soon, I'm sure. Yeah. No,
Why
I
not
mean, I
put
feel
it
like
in now?
it's already proven that it should be in there. There's nothing more it can do to be. Well, if they wait another year, like, okay, now it's.
Are they waiting to see if
Yeah.
Microsoft fucks it up and makes Minecraft 2 and then ruins the series?
Well, it's like if you're letting in like 5 or 6 games a year and you have a 30-game short list, I'm pretty sure 5 games annually are not going to come out that push 5 other games off the list. So I'm pretty sure just being on the short list is like you're due to be inducted.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well,
Green
let's
light.
hold on. Let's have that conversation
Not
then.
really
Do you feel that there's nothing really like in the last 3 or 4 years that is worthy of consideration of an honor like this?
No, I don't think that at all. I just think like if you're I sort of think if you open a gaming hall of fame in this year, you should just like induct like everything you want to induct from 1970 until like the year 2010 or something.
Okay.
Get it through. Just
Yeah.
move it on, and then
No,
we
that
can
makes
talk about the
sense.
relevant stuff.
Otherwise, you're going to be like, okay, well, it's 2023. Should we put Star Wars, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past in there? Yeah, you know, that's probably going to be in there. Okay, should we put Super Mario Brothers 3 in there? Yeah, Super Mario Brothers 3 is due.
Well,
like, you're going to
okay,
be
so-
protecting that
Completely
backlog for decades.
So, like, in the actual, you made the comparisons to, like, the actual, you know, the Naismith Hall of Fame for the NBA and the Hall of Fame for whatever various sports. It is, like, it's a cream of the crop, you know? Like, there have been great players in the history of the NBA that don't make the Hall of Fame. There probably will be great video games that don't necessarily make the Hall of Fame here. And I sort of agree with you that, like, they probably should have just had an inaugural class that was just more or less the games that everybody agreed were basically unanimous selections, right? That definitely makes sense. But I disagree with the notion that there won't be the potential to continually fill this list as the years go on.
Oh, no, I think it will be able to be filled, but it's just like, I mean, I guess I can't be expected to care that they put like with Space Invaders in the Hall of Fame. Like, with Space Invaders is a classic. We've established
Progenitor
this.
of the industry. Yes, we
Yeah.
understand. This is the way that this is built.
It's like if they open the NFL Hall of Fame like this year and they put Brett Favre in it, you know, or
Yeah.
they put like Johnny Unitas in it. You're like, yeah, we all know. It's like
Well,
he's already been
that
on.
would be like if they had the first class and it was just Johnny Unitas, Brett Favre, Joe Montana, fucking just like all the staples, exactly.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, there's 80 years of NFL history we got to get through here. So
So that brings you to the point of what's the relevance of it really? Is it to inform people about what these classics are, or is it something else?
If we try to look at it from the perspective of maybe an outsider, so say, for example, somebody that has no familiarity with games whatsoever, like, this would be a great resource to show them, okay, so, like, if you want to learn about games from the start, like the industry and how it all began, this is a pretty good place to begin, I'd say.
It's one of many places to begin. There's a lot of people that have taken this route already.
Absolutely.
So why is this one curated in a way that's better than the other ones or useful?
I think just again, I don't want to make this argument because
Sorry,
it sort
I'm
of seems
meaning
like
to put you so on the spot.
No, I think it's definitely a valid concern. I don't want to make the argument that they just have more legitimacy because I don't even I don't know what this museum is. This is probably the first time I've really heard of it, but. There's really just nothing that I guess makes that discernation for you. You just sort of have to decide for yourself up until maybe they establish a little bit more legitimacy in the field. But they seem to have a good head on their shoulders here. I'm sure it was really hard to fuck up the first 2 years of inductees. I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna agree with them for the most part. But maybe once they start having more controversial additions, we'll be able to judge them a little more critically.
I think it's just like they're just trying to get the ball rolling. Like, go with the safe stuff. Nobody's gonna say, okay, don't put in Space Invaders, don't put in this. That does not belong in there. So they're getting the whole framework established, and let the people nominate the more controversial stuff and kind of start talking about it, and then and then that makes it a lot easier to actually put that stuff in there.
You know what's interesting to me is I think if you were to ask all four of us to come up with our list of what are our top 100 games, I think it would be pretty likely that we'd get at least a bunch of the ones that are in that Hall of Fame, which brings me to the idea of why is it relevant to just literally name these names that most people could agree on, when I think what's really more important is the context of them and why they are relevant and why they fit into this place that they do. And ultimately, if we're just coming down to making a list of bullet points, anybody could do that that's in the industry.
They do break it down. I want to give them credit there, as you mentioned. They have their breakdown for why it is that the game was inducted, the sort of impact that it had. Here's an example. Here's one that I thought was interesting, too, is that they actually did induct Grand Theft Auto 3 in the second round of inductees. That's sort of surprising to me. But they said, so released in 2001, Grand Theft Auto 3 was the first 3D open-ended sandbox-style game to achieve massive mainstream popularity. So it's that sort of stuff that I think is what maybe differentiates them from just somebody making a blog post about what they consider are the 100 best games of all time, right? And I touched on that earlier, too, that they're focused more, I think, on the cultural influence and the impact of games as opposed to just who decided that these were the best gaming experiences.
And that's how they establish their credibility. If they can actually hit those points properly and give the proper context for the games, then that's when I will say, cool, you got my thumbs up.
I think they're doing it. I think they're doing a decent job of it.
Well, I mean, they have to do it that way. It's different from sport. I mean, I'm sure there's some contextual stuff with sports and everything's relative, but okay, Wayne Gretzky has got a million points. Of course, he's going in. It's pretty quantifiable that he's a great player.
Yeah, Wayne Gretzky is the Pong of the video game Hall of Fame, I would imagine.
I mean, his function is similar to a Pong paddle, right?
They actually inducted him on the day he retired.
Wow. Well, they didn't want to leave any room for doubt, right?
It's a step it's a great distinction. Wasn't even first ballot. It was the day he retired. He was inducted.
They just took him straight from the arena to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, right?
Straight to the Congressional Cemetery where they buried him alive.
His work was done on this planet.
Put him right in the incinerator, still screaming.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But turned it into a Saw movie, man. Fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going more of the Michelin star kind of approach. I've been watching a lot of food related stuff, and how they go in to these people were going to these 1, 2, and 3 Michelin star places. And the one guy was talking about, he's like, sometimes the dishes you don't even like them, they're not delicious, but it's an experience, and people could say, oh, that's pretentious or whatever. Food should be delicious and hearty, blah blah blah. But there's definitely something less, I guess, quantifiable about food or maybe video games and stuff like that compared to to sports and stuff. And plus, also, if you're going based on inducting games that have on game rankings or whatever, really good scores, things like that. There's a lot more review outlets now. Everybody and their mom has a video game blog where 5 stars, 4 stars, 8 out of 10 kind of stuff. Whereas back in the day, there's a couple dozen magazines or something, or a few big websites. So that can skew it a lot too. So I think you do kind of need to have a panel to look more at the cultural influence and how it paved the way for other games, influenced other games and stuff like that. That are not as quantifiable.
I certainly hope nobody believes that you could just look at the top 100 highest selling games and that's your Hall of Fame, because that would be a sad
I didn't say highest selling.
No, that doesn't work.
The reason I have a knee-jerk reaction that is like, is because I just can't deal with like another internet argument over like, what's the best game of all time? Is it The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time? Is it Red Dead Redemption? Is it Final Fantasy VII? Like, I just can't go. I can't see another one. So like, you can have them, that's fine. But like I can't care, because at this point I'm like, I just don't care what you like anymore. Yeah. Like, I already like this thing and it's 20 years old. I don't need you to be like, yeah, it's good. It's already I've liked it and made that a part of my identity forever. Yes. I don't need the. Yeah.
But I think didn't Nick mention it earlier? I mean, okay, we've been part of a significant part of the timeline of video games, right? We've grown up with them, and
my whole life has been through it.
Yeah.
We were in a very kind of like Goldilocks zone growing up, where it wasn't. If somebody said like, "Hey, do you play video games?" They didn't like look at us weird because we were still kids, kind of thing. But back when I was 4, and if you talk to some guy and he's 34, and you play video games, they might look at him weird. But we've kind of grown up with them, and we've experienced them, and we've been able to see, this influenced that, I look now at my niece or something, and she's 14 and she's playing mobile games and stuff. Guaranteed she hasn't even heard of a lot of these games. Yeah. So I think there is a little bit of validity in it, just as an educational tool. Be like, this, it's like going into a history museum. It's like, this is what guns used to look like. We used to actually just use swords. Guns didn't even exist or whatever. So it's kind of, I don't know.
The fact that this is a physical museum as well, I think, is probably a big selling point to it, too, as far as the legitimacy argument is concerned. I think it would be amazing if in like 4 or 5 years they had an entire wing of this place that you could take like your niece to, that you could show her all this history of games and be like, see, this is The Sims. This is what took over everyone's lives for about 4 months through 2001 and 2002.
Show her how to wall off a sim and just watch them die.
Show them how to get them in the shower and then remove the shower, and you just have a lineup of naked sims. We all did it. Come on, don't hide.
No doubt that this is definitely a good educational tool. I just want to make sure that they get their due diligence done and that they properly represent the nuance involved, because it's something I care a great deal about.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can have this list. Anybody can have these ideas. Do it right, and then I'll care.
Yep. I think they are.
I don't think I'm gonna care.
Well, that's fine too. I mean,
I don't know, because
it's matter. You know what this is about anyway.
There's movie museums and stuff, but I think I would be like, I wouldn't want to like go to a museum with my niece and be like, hey, that's Roman Holiday. It's really good. We could just go home and watch it. I could just get The Sims, or I could like get Tetris and be like, check it out.
For a lot of them though, it's like, you can take your niece to play Space Invaders and she'll be completely underwhelmed by it and not interested whatsoever. But if you can like show her what was happening at the time that made it so interesting, like just looking at like an ad for the Space Invaders arcade cabinet or something like that, just the sort of thing that gives you that historical perspective, I think is probably worthwhile.
Yeah, it's a very curated experience. They've taken the time, and I don't know what the museum will actually look like, but I mean, it'd be cool if they have different timeline graphics and stuff, and show this influenced that and blah blah blah. It's I think it's as an educational tool that's more effective than just being like, hey, try Space Invaders because the kids just
Yeah.
Like,
this
why would I
sucks.
bother with that?
There's
Come
a
on.
lot less context in that bubble.
Come to
right?
the
Even
museum
I-
and try Space Invaders.
Well, yeah,
But they've
but,
got
I mean,
like
you
all
could-
the little fucking LED displays in there now, and they like have a Space Invaders set that you can play with your phone that you just hook up at the museum display. That's the future I'm looking forward to for video games, man. Just to go to a museum and play them.
And just walk through, standing looking at your phone in a building with other people looking at their phone.
Yeah, that's just like a day-to-day life, isn't it?
It's getting there.
Uh-huh.
Just don't even walk anymore. Just put us on a conveyor belt.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you could go to the video game cafe, and
Hmm.
you could get, instead of pogos, you get pongos or something, you know, and
Pogos?
That was the name of my
Oh,
first
those-
dog, Pongo. Brought back
Pongo?
memories. He ran
Really?
away all the time. Yeah, Pongo
Oh,
was his first name.
Oh, those
Crazy
are
dude.
corn dogs.
yeah,
Oh,
it's like
okay.
a brand. It's like Kleenex or
Gotcha.
something.
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, the Video Game Hall of Fame. There we
Who
go.
cares?
Who cares? Fuck it. You guys. Okay, so I think I was the only one that played Neo, right?
You were, but I wish I was
NIOH.
amongst
Alright.
your having played it. Yeah.
So let me talk briefly about Neo. Neo is so hard. It's so hard, man. I
Why?
played Dark Souls, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Neo is considerably harder. It's.
What do you mean you played Dark Souls?
I mean,
Yeah,
I
like-
played the video
Yes.
game Dark Souls.
Like
Yeah.
2 minutes
Yeah.
of it, or
No, I played Dark
1,000
Souls.
hours?
I didn't play Dark Souls 3. I played Dark Souls.
I played Dark Souls.
Yeah, I played Dark Souls.
Is that the aliens to the alien or something?
Man.
I want to talk about Neo, goddamn.
No.
How much
Talk
Dark
about
Souls
Dark
did you
Souls.
play? I'm trying to assess your gamer cred
Yeah.
to get a benchmark
How many
for
inches
how
are
hard.
you?
Yeah,
this game-
Mr. Steam reviewer.
All right, I played through the whole of Dark Souls 1. I played 10 hours of Dark Souls 2, and I did not play any of Dark Souls 3.
Yeah,
So
but
my
were you
opinion.
good at it?
No, I was shit. I was all kinds of shit. I beat Dark Souls 1.
Did you
If-
use
if
a
that has any
guide,
value.
or did anybody? Did you have a trip sitter?
I'm done
Yeah.
with this, man.
Did
I'm-
you do
I'm
the
done with
Northern
this.
Lion tactic of just running
Hey,
by
how is
everything?
Yo, fuck you, man.
Neo is made by Team Ninja, published by Koei Tecmo. It is I think a lot of people have been describing it as The Witcher meets Dark Souls meets Onimushi, I think has been another comparison. It is the gameplay, I think, is solid, fantastic, really good controls. Plays like a Dark Souls game, but I was getting one hit killed by just like the first enemies that I came across. So I
Yeah.
load up the demo, I find two dudes with spears. I'm thinking it's just gonna be like, okay, yeah, we'll learn how to get the basics of combat and all that stuff here, right? No, it just fucking stabs me and I'm dead. Just die right there. Enemy one in the demo, and I just get fucking annihilated.
that.
If you
So-
die in Neo, do you die in the real world?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the appeal to this one.
If Neo dies in Neo, does he die in real life?
Oh man.
Only if it's in Canada.
Neo is just one spelled differently.
Not backwards. Just differently.
So yeah, it's insanely difficult. I had a lot of trouble just progressing point by point, seriously, just because every fight was so tough. But the availability of like choices in combat and stuff was pretty impressive for the demo. In fact, the whole of the demo I thought was just like really great. I haven't played like a really good demo in a long time, and I was really pleasantly surprised by just like how much stuff was available in the Neo demo. Like they had an entire area. It was, like nothing was barred behind any sort of, well, wait until the full game comes around to find out what happens next or anything like that. It was just, it gave you the full experience. It gave you like the entirety of what you can expect from general gameplay in Neo. It like let you go interact with NPCs. You could go to buy stuff. You could rank up. You basically like experience the entirety of leveling up for the first time in Neo, just as it will be in the final game. And then on top of that, like if you beat I didn't actually beat the boss myself, but apparently if you beat the boss, then you could play another whole segment. Like there was a second mission, and it's just the demo. Like so that was just really impressive for me. I really am happy to see things like that. I think that honestly should be the way that a lot more companies go. We don't see enough really good demos these days.
You mean make demos that are representative of the actual game that
I
they
know,
intend to
right?
sell
No,
to you?
it's a very
That's
far-fetched
ridiculous.
idea, but I think it might work out.
How
is
is
it
it broken up?
Witcher-esque because the
Yeah.
dude has a white ponytail?
More or less, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
and his name is Geralt.
Is it like an open world thing, or it's like missions with structured levels in those missions?
It's
or
an open
what do
world.
you do?
Like, so in the area that I was in, it's pretty linear, but it has like an open world feel to it, to where you can just sort of like it's like Dark Souls more or less, where you just got like different areas you can go to, and you've got the freedom to do that.
Okay, you just said that it was like you get to the second mission and then there's another area, so I thought that it was like levels or something.
Well, no, that's the thing, is I don't actually know what the second area
Okay.
is. So like, yeah, I didn't play it myself, so I couldn't tell you that. But yeah, apparently it exists. Also, another thing that I didn't know about it is that if you beat the boss, then you unlock DLC for the actual game, which is pretty neat. That's like an
Sweet.
actual tangible reward you get for playing the demo. So that's also quite commendable from Team Ninja there. But yeah, that's Neo. It's just the demo that was available for the past week or so. I'm pretty sure it's closed now, so sorry if you didn't get the chance yourself.
Oh,
but
damn it. I didn't know it was ending.
yeah, it ended yesterday. Sorry, man.
It looks like if Team Ninja made like a samurai Dark Souls.
That's more or less it. Yeah, that sounds right.
That
I mean, I
seems
love Ninja
neat.
Gaiden, and I've been a fan of Team Ninja for the most part, so it seems like an obvious buy for me.
I don't know if I was just terrible at it, and it's entirely possible that that's the case, but I just feel I should warn people that this game is fucking tough. It is so hard. So there's your warning. Hopefully it stays that way. I like it because it feels like that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, like it feels like you are this supreme badass, but you're also just as vulnerable as any other human being. So you know, like you've got to deal with that. So it's pretty neat.
Did you guys ever play Lords of the Fallen?
No, I didn't. I remember we
It's
talked about it last
interesting-
week, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a strange coincidence.
Yeah.
It's interesting to get all these takes that are like from different companies of this is very Dark Souls inspired. Like it wears its inspiration on its sleeve. This is like our take on Dark Souls. And Lords of the Fallen was okay. I didn't finish it, but I was like, it's got some cool stuff going on in it. But this looks very Team Ninja-esque with the Dark Souls inspiration on its sleeve. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I didn't really learn a lot about the story or anything like that, but you know, it's just it's doing everything that it wants to do, and it's doing it quite well. I think the biggest appeal to this game for the majority of people is probably just going to be the fact that it's so tough. You know, like I think Ninja Gaiden enthusiasts are probably going to be really encouraged by that. You know, it's another Team Ninja game, and I think there's just a lot of people that are sort of just looking for that. You know, like, yeah, we want Team Ninja to make more stuff. So, not to mention the fact that this game apparently has been in development for like a decade. I guess they started working on it back in 2005 or something, and then just all kinds of shit happened. You know, just various troubles with the developers and publishers, and never happened. But now it is. So that's exciting.
Have they been working on it since 2005? Or is it like the same way that I've been sort of trying to get jacked since 2005? You know, it's like I care about it for like a week, and then 2 years go by, and then I get really into it for a month, and then...
They usually work on it for a year, and then they've got to abandon their engine and build it from scratch again or something like that.
That's the problem with games these days. They're coming out with better and better engines, and technology's moving so much more quickly. Like, if they started actually making it 10 years ago, they probably had to
For the most part, I'm sure it's just, you know, like assets that they reuse, and, you know, just like a whole bunch of groundwork.
What you do
stuff.
now is you just like open Unity, file new, and then you type in your idea, and then
And the
just
checkboxes come up, right?
Yeah, you just click make game.
I thought you were
And
going to
you're
go
like, would you like to add online multiplayer? All right.
Yeah.
It's going to add an extra 10 minutes to the development time, but might
one
as well.
One of those drop-down selections under file is reuse old project, and I think that's how they got all those Neo assets back into it.
Oh,
Just, you know,
absolutely.
It's
reloading
just
to the
like-
old versions.
You go to any website, you go to view source, copy, paste, change the metadata.
You have a game.
I think all Diablo 3 copy paste. Easy.
I think it works.
If you just put the source code for Onimusha inside of the source code for Dark Souls, you just get this.
You get Neo. There it is.
Yep.
Oh, man. All right. There's Neo. Not quite out. I think they've got a release date. Let me see if that's the case. They don't. Okay. They don't yet have a release date. But
In 10 years.
Yeah. So that was the alpha demo that has been 10 years in the making. We should expect it sometime in 2026. Sounds good. All right, Nick, why don't you talk to me about Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight?
I can do that if you want. Sure
Would you
thing.
please, yeah.
So I have played all of Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight as a 2D Metroidvania game, and hey, guess what? That's pretty much my thing. I love those games. I always will. I always have.
As soon as I heard the subtitle, I was like, "This is a fucking Metroidvania."
You know what I found out though? I found out about it from Josh.
Oh,
Really?
Although
That doesn't surprise me. Josh also loves
got
Metroidvanias.
super into it apparently, and he recommended it to me. But I'd actually heard of this prior to this because I had gotten a code for number 3. This is actually the 4th in the series of Momodora games, and I wasn't aware that it was so much a game that I would love. So I want to start by saying Momodora is like thumbs all the way up, 100% recommended. If you like Metroidvania games, you will like this. There's almost nothing I could come up with that was bad about it other than maybe it ended a little sooner than I wanted it to, but that's like the best compliment you can give it. Has beautiful art direction, beautiful soundtrack, really good difficulty balancing. It's not overly hard, it's not overly easy. Had an okay selection of different types of weapons and unlockables to pick up over the course of it. The level diversity was interesting. It took you through a forest that led to a city that led to a bunch of like hellish areas and then like a castle. And it felt a bit Dark Souls-y, actually, in the way that it was structured. There were these bells sort of in the place of bonfires, and there were a couple of NPCs that you track, like Onion Knight, throughout things that you'd come into a little sporadic bit of story, and then you find them again later, and something happened. So the structure of the
You're
game is
attacking
really
this
well
woman's
done.
boobs. Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's
that was
violent.
like the one weird part about the game. I don't really understand what that was about. There was a boss fight where you like beat up this lady's boobs, and it seemed really out of place.
See that again.
Because nothing else about the game was sort of like sexually exploitive like that, and that
Yeah.
seemed a little bit.
Is it-
So
yeah,
I
no,
don't know,
yeah,
it kind of existed in a vacuum or something. I don't know why that happened.
yeah, it kind of just appears out of nowhere in the trailer too. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, you can do this too. Interesting.
This looks a lot like Chasm.
Chasm and
yeah.
yeah, a little bit like Cave Story also. Yeah, both of those feel a bit similar in art style. It has a bit of like a Castlevania Aria of Sorrow almost, slightly up-res like Game Boy Advance sprite look to it, but a little bit more refined, which I think is great. I think it works really well. The animations are nice and fluid and solid. Combat feels really good. You get like a long-range bow attack that you can upgrade, and then you've got your short form sword attack, which does like a 3-hit combo. You find out it's actually a leaf that you're fighting with the whole time, but it acts like a sword, so
Nice.
Yeah, whatever.
Razor leaf.
I'm getting a little bit of a La Mulana vibe to it. Is there like a satisfying amount of secrets, exploration, any of that kind of stuff?
There are some extra things to find towards the end. I actually ended up doing sort of an accidental 100% run of it where I uncovered every tile on the map, and there was some
Nice.
stuff to find, but not as much as like a Symphony of the Night kind of thing. It was a bit sparse in terms of total secrets, I would say. But ultimately, it seems like everybody seems to agree that's played it. It's really good. It has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. It's $10, so like you can't go that wrong anyway. So it's just like a really easy recommendation for me.
Sweet. All right, Momodora. Did you play? So you didn't play any of the first 3 games, then I imagine.
No, I haven't. I heard the third one was definitely worth doing as well. The first 2 were like a bit iffy at times, but I'm probably gonna play through the third one just because I've heard so many good things.
Right on. All right. Let's get to Battleborn because okay. So real quick before we even get into this, there's been like a lot of comparisons made between Battleborn and Overwatch, right? And pardon the ignorance here, but so Nick, you had a lot of experience with Battleborn, right? Or
Played
you
about
played it at
4 or
least.
5 hours now.
Has anybody else played?
Yes.
You have.
I was going
Okay,
to.
Wonderful. All right. Tell me about Battleborn. Either.
Well-
you go for it.
Okay. Battleborn is it's a game with 2 different axes in it. In multiplayer mode, it's a 5 versus 5 hero shooter / first-person MOBA, depending on your perspective. And in single player, it's like Borderlands if Borderlands was a hero shooter / first-person MOBA. It's got that Gearbox style sense of humor, lots of colorful stuff going on. It's very tongue-in-cheek as well in the tone that it takes, and I guess I'll let Nick take it over from there.
Yeah, do it.
All right, so there was 2 separate games essentially that I believe are presented in this, and I've only played one of them, and that is the co-op action versus the sort of online MOBA PvP sort of situation. And I think the one probably serves as sort of a tutorial to the other one, but they are pretty substantially different. So the way that it's structured, I was seeing it as sort of like a Destiny meets Borderlands kind of situation where you get in with a team of 4 other people, ideally online, and run through doing these quests. And I think there's a total of 8 missions that are available with ranks and a series of difficulty progression. And you shoot a ton of monsters. You stand in certain spots and open doors, and you basically just try to fulfill whatever the criteria is. Some of them involve dodging traps. Some of them involve fighting mini bosses or doing tower defense style things. Some of them involve waves of enemies at certain points, and just try and not get your teammates killed. I think the big draw to this game is that it's got a really vivid, lively sense of character to it. All the 25 characters they offer you are quite unique and interesting, and I don't say that lightly. I came in quite skeptical that this game was going to be fun, and it actually convinced me in the matter of an hour that I was enjoying it. And every character I played as was meaningfully different and enjoyable to play as to itself. So that by itself was enough to make me interested in playing a lot more of it, and I think if you got a few friends to play with, you could get quite a few hours out of this. And I played with Rob actually last night. We did 3 missions, and he seemed to enjoy it as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, I was skeptical. It turns out pretty good game. But I haven't played the PvP element, which might be the majority of what the game's all about. I haven't gotten to that point.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I have played the PvP. It actually took watching this to remind me that I have indeed played the PvP for this game. It's, I think I'm not really okay, I'm going to say 2 things. I'm not really the target market for this, I don't think, despite my history with shooters, which is a little surprising to me. But I also I don't know, I'm not really looking for a game like this either. I think I don't really see a ton of appeal apart from the fact that it is, it's fun, but there's not a lot of reason for me to pick this above many other games right now, just because I think I'm just a little burned out about hero shooters in general. Even though it's really not that new of a genre, I think I'm already almost done with them, honestly. There's so many already. It's kind of getting
They all
crazy.
came at the same time.
Yeah.
Like Paladins, Overwatch, and Battleborn have all had a push in the past 3 weeks, and people are getting to the point where they're like, every game is this now, and I'm tired of it. And Overwatch has a dominant amount of the market appeal, I think, for people. So I will say, when I played Battleborn, I like the PvP stuff. I think the PvP stuff is a lot of fun, and it's a nice twist on the MOBA formula. I haven't played Overwatch, but in the single player, it was okay. But I was also kind of not single player, but the co-op. I was also it's a little too easy for me with the MOBA formula. Is all right, everybody take out the little waves, and then there's the big guy. Everyone drop your ultimates, and then he's gonna die, and there'll be some gearboxy dialogue in the back, which is fine. But I found it sort of not that compelling.
Yeah.
But I haven't played the single player since PAX Prime of last year, whereas I played the multiplayer back in beta in October or something like that. So, my impression of the game was that it was good. I just didn't get that excited about it. I'm not even that excited about Overwatch. So
there's a lot happening at the same time right now, and also
really
there's a lot happening in that game to keep track of. I think where it really succeeds, though, is the feel of it. I mean, I've been a fan of Borderlands since the beginning, and it feels like you're playing as a specified Borderlands class that already has all of the uniqueness about it ready to go.
That's cool.
And then you level from 1 to 10 in the space of 1 40-ish minute mission, which makes you feel powerful, and the characters are fun. So, for me, that by itself is enough to make the game enjoyable. But I'm also saying that in the vacuum of not having played Overwatch or Paladins or any of the others that feel very similar, I suppose. So if I never play those, I think I'll probably have fun with this just fine.
Yeah. So I've played all 3, and we'll talk about Overwatch in a little bit here as well. I know Malf has played Overwatch as well. And it's just we see the formula, right? The formula is there for these hero shooters where you've just got this pool of heroes, sense of progression, unlockables, achievements. It's all there, and the differences between them are basically just cosmetic almost. And there's different game modes, and I think the Battleborn co-op thing seems to be a little bit more unique than maybe the competitors have. But overall, just the formula is there, and I'm just not really. It doesn't appeal to me. It really just does not draw me in that much. I appreciate it. I think a lot of people are having fun with it. I think it's well made too. I think they're all good games. It's really not exciting. It's interesting.
It's it's not fair, but I do think it has kind of a perception problem where if only one game like this was coming out around the same time, it could get like critical mass and people would be like really excited about it. But there's so many that I like don't want to play any of them. But I will say I am kind of interested in Overwatch. But it seems shitty to say, but it'd be like Battleborn just doesn't interest me just because there's other stuff that is like it. And what I played of it was fun, but it wasn't fun enough for me to be like, let's invest
No, I
the
hear
time.
you. I completely was skeptical. I almost didn't even want to play it because I don't know if you remember, but when we first talked about it, I was like, I'm so out. I'm not interested in this at all. And I happened to get a code for it, and I was like, I'll just give this a try. Prologue hooked me in like 45 minutes, and I felt like, hey, you know what? I was not really being fair to it. It was actually quite fun.
Yeah.
So as someone who completely didn't want to play it at all, I actually enjoyed it somewhat. But I also love Borderlands games, and it feels good. So there you go.
No, that does say a lot about it too. I think I'll say this about Battleborn, that I really like the level up system that they built into Battleborn. I like that it's super quick once you become familiar with it. It's so easy to level characters up in the game.
I just wish they'd let you set them, though, like in the background off before you've played. So if you've got a way you like to level every time, just let it do it automatically. You got your level, there it is, it's done. You don't even have to go hit one and then pick the side you want.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that'd be nice. Let's transition pretty naturally over into Overwatch, I guess. Then, Malf, give me your general impressions on Overwatch. What you've played thus far.
I haven't played it, mister.
You haven't played Overwatch? Oh man, this whole time I was under the.
No, it's okay. I've actually I've been watching some other people play, and this is not typically like I haven't played online competitive type games really significantly since Mech Assault and Halo 2. Like that's pretty much it. But I've been interested in kind of getting back into it. But for me nowadays, especially, I like to play with people, and and it's hard to commit a lot of time to playing these games with people a lot because people are busy, they whatever, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But so that's one factor. And the other thing too is like I was like, okay, there's Battleborn and there's Overwatch and there's all these different kind of games, and people are saying, oh, 3 isn't that much, but to me it's kind of like I'm not going to play all 3 or 4. I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to sink my time into it. And so, yeah, they are similar, but there are differences and stuff. And, I mean, to me, if I'm going in blind, I'm probably going to go Overwatch just because Blizzard is a fairly highly regarded developer.
Man, that out of context is weird.
And their, polish and stuff and balancing is obviously going to be a big issue. That was one of my questions for you guys who've been playing Battleborn. Like, you said there's 25 different classes.
25 characters, and then 5 more coming with their DLC season pass, which I was a little sad that literally the first thing you see is buy the season pass when you open it.
Yeah.
That's just become a thing, though.
You just play as Mushroom Man. All game, every game, Mushroom Man.
He's the healing class. I didn't expect that out of him.
Yeah, mushrooms, they can heal and harm, man.
I guess so. So you're asking about the balance of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, how many of the different characters have you played? And to me, I feel like to have 25 kind of different, non-redundant characters and to balance them well, that seems like a pretty tall order to do.
I've only played about 5 in total, and they did feel meaningfully different. One of them was a sword-wielding guy. He's a red sword man, slashes everywhere. He feels like a total badass as you play as him. Actually, I got so into him that when I finished my run with Rob, I was like, Rob, you got to play as a sword man. He loved him, too, and he's like, I'm never going back. I'm maining this lady Thorn right now. She's this archer, and she's got, like, power-up charge attacks and shoots, like, many arrows at the same time, or she can like curse the ground, and then she's got an ultimate which like curses an area. She feels really cool too because she's like kind of a slow firing character but hits really hard, and also somewhat squishy but not like a pushover. So you got to keep your distance and let the other guys go in and take a lot of the damage, and you get into some of that like MMO team comp stuff where you want to bring the right group of people to the right fight if possible, and it adds a little bit to the consideration. Well, I could keep going, but the other characters I played, like I said, were meaningfully different, although there are still 20 more of them I haven't played as, so we'll see.
I do want to just say, as I'm saying this as though it's like this, incredible feat that I've accomplished, but as someone who has played all 3, I think I got to go with Overwatch, honestly. I liked Paladins well enough, I liked Battleborn well enough, but there's just something about Overwatch. I think it, like, just maybe the presentation might be a little better in my eyes. I think just like the Blizzard art style is something maybe a little probably not recognizable. I don't think they've really made anything that really necessarily looks much like Overwatch, but it is still just like it looks great. It feels great to play. Just the few games that I've played of the Overwatch beta so far, I've had a ton of fun, and I think like I probably had a reaction pretty similar to the way that you felt about Battleborn, Nick, in that I went into it thinking like, okay, yeah, I'll try this out. It might be pretty fun, but I'm having a pretty damn good time with Overwatch. And I haven't really been inclined to go back to Battleborn or Paladins, but I kind of feel like playing more Overwatch. So I really...
Is there PvE?
I don't think so. Not now, at least. I know... well, they've got against AI, but I don't know if that's like, a whole PvE thing.
That's the difference for me. I really like games where you can team up with other people and just fight a computer. It's like whatever the AI situation is. Even if it's not as fun long-term, I really like that you can keep coming back to it and have a somewhat... replicable situation every time. Bring friends, play the same thing, and I think that's what made Destiny so popular. So this feels like Destiny Borderlands for me.
That makes sense.
You guys just make your minds pick one, and I'll join.
Well, I'm trying
Mike,
to
just
consider
play Hearthstone with me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play it. If you're gonna actually play with me, I'll definitely get it. Don't make me buy it and buy cards and then you not play it with
Fuck
me.
over, man. I'm trying to.
So sad looking.
I'm trying to consider, like, for the people that will probably have to make a decision here, right? I seriously doubt that folks that are interested in any of these three games are going to get all three, even two of them, honestly. I doubt that will happen in a lot of cases. So I think, really, people are probably just going to have to make a choice. And I don't really want to say that much as far as that's concerned. I will say that, like, again, out of the three, I think my preference is for Overwatch. But they are all good. Like, having played them all, they are all pretty damn good. It's just, as I mentioned, they don't have a ton of lasting appeal to me at the moment.
Well, that's another, for sure. I'm probably not going to be playing this in 2 months ever again. And not that it's bad. It's just like it'll have its time. I'll get over it. I'll play all the characters a couple times, and that'll be it. I don't know. Probably Overwatch will last a bit longer since it's Blizzard and they have the money to make it relevant for years if they want. Via Twitch and stuff. I'm sure there'll be tournaments and big players, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think Overwatch is probably going to have a good community around it for a long time. I think Battleborn probably will as well. I don't know about Paladins necessarily, but I really don't have any reason to believe they won't.
All of y'all.
Here comes the Paladins Crusades.
Paladins is a good game.
It is. I agree.
I have not played Overwatch, but Paladins is good on its own merits as well. And it was really frustrating to be playing it, and then like all of the comments are like, "Oh, it's just like worse Overwatch." You're like, I don't know, maybe that's true, but it's good. Like, it's okay. It's a fun game to play by itself as well. But and again, I don't hate the game, hate the player. Like, this is just
Oh, I do.
I think it's an easy scapegoat for us or many people feeling that there's just too much of this sort of genre happening all of a sudden, because it doesn't hurt too many people's feelings to go, "Oh, this one sucks."
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
it's like a byproduct of the fact that there's 100 of these games coming out right now, and you're like, well, unless this is better demonstrably, why would I care? On top of the ones that we're talking about, there's also Paragon.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about Paragon too.
From Epic. And then Cliffy B is making Lawbreakers with Nexon right now.
I thought Paragon was Paladins for a really long time.
I can see why you get that confused. Yeah.
What was the name of the EA MOBA that was popular for
fuck, no, I don't remember.
Was it not called Paragon?
Oh, please. That would be too
MOBA. Dawngate.
Dawngate.
Oh, I don't think we were even thinking of the same thing. Dawngate.
I forgot
what about Gigantic.
Huh.
Gigantic, I believe, is another kind of hero shooter.
And then you could even make the case that Atlas Reactor is sort of like a character-driven RTS sort of thing. That's a little bit of a stretch.
There was news about Atlas Reactor, by the way. They're moving to the Overwatch model of charging $40 or $30 for it rather than having it be free to play.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Is that a good idea or no? I can't really tell.
That's
was that good
I
or
can't
bad
really
decision?
make up my mind if that's a good or bad decision, because it seems like they're one of the few that were poised to really do the free-to-play thing properly. But maybe the other way is better. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, from a business perspective, it's going to make it a high buy-in price for people, especially when every other MOBA except for like Overwatch is free, I guess, or every other game like this is free. But we talked about it all the time. The ideal method for me is free to play, but there's microtransactions if you want to buy things piecemeal, and like a discounted buy everything price that just unlocks absolutely everything.
Right.
Okay, well, those all suck. Let's talk about other games.
Maybe we'll play some Overwatch this weekend. It's in beta, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
it's open
downloading
beta.
it tonight.
you might not have a chance though, because Bear's going to be in Vancouver.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're gonna be in town, man.
We can play local split screen
There you
co-op.
go. That's in the
it
time that
supports
I'm
it.
in town. I think that should be our top priority, is doing some co-op games. Let's. I know we're not really the Call of Duty guys, but let's talk
hell
a
yeah.
little bit about the newest announcement from the Call of Duty folks, Infinite Warfare, which has a lot of people upset for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why, but there has been a pretty massive backlash against
the warfare to
this
end.
announcement.
Not go on forever.
I suppose, yeah, that might be it.
Peace.
It is, I mean, okay, so we all know Call of Duty, right? I feel like I don't have to explain that anymore, but
Why don't you indulge us?
I guess so.
Tell us a little about Call of Duty.
Call of Duty was inducted into the 2017 The Strong Video Game Hall of Fame class for its amazing influence in 12-year-olds around the world. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, the reveal trailer for this has nearly 500,000 thumbs down.
Wow.
That's insanity. It's got
That's like a sponsored Paladins video.
It's got like nearly 10 million views, and a lot of people are really pissed off. I actually have been like trying to figure out why it is that people are so angry about it. And the general consensus I'm just getting is that A, they don't like the name Infinite Warfare, which seems kind of silly, and then B, it's just like, you know, they're kind of tired of Call of Duty going into the futuristic tech devices, which
this is what, the fourth one in a row?
yeah, I think so, yeah. So that may be a little bit of burnout for the most part, but it still just seems like, I guess I am underestimating the passion that COD gamers hold, but this is a very...
So the real story of why I think they're really upset is that they're holding the remake of Modern Warfare hostage.
Okay, that's the other part of it,
and
too,
charging
yeah.
$80 for the game so you can get the remake of the first one that people actually want instead of selling it separately.
So
Wait, but hold up though.
yeah.
What?
Isn't that a good? You're getting two for the price of one, right?
Well, let me clarify
No,
what's
it's
going
more
on there
expensive than the single game.
for folks that don't
Oh,
understand.
it is. Okay.
That so Call of Duty Infinite Warfare has been announced. And they've also announced that they're remaking Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and that will be coupled along with pre-orders for Infinite Warfare.
I forgot that $80 in US is not the normal price for a video game.
Oh, yes, that is true.
Where
Lucky
I was
us.
like $80, you get two games. That's a discount up here, 2 for 1.
But so yeah, the thing that people are upset about there, though, is the fact that apparently, or at least right now, Activision is not allowing you to purchase the remake of Modern Warfare separate from Infinite Warfare. So that, I think, is a perfectly valid complaint. In fact, I'm a little peeved by that myself.
If
I
I may take it
go
out
ahead.
of context a little bit, people have fatigue with the franchise. It's the 13th Call of Duty game in 16 years. They're saying, hey, don't give me more of the same shit. Let me buy the same shit from 2008 that you've repolished. I don't want new old shit. I want the old shit made a little new.
Ew. That was well phrased, yes.
Don't give me this new game. I want the remake. And I don't want to have to play anything new to experience it.
They
You're
said
right.
remaster will be available through Legacy Digital Deluxe and Legacy Pro editions of Infinite Warfare. That is quite a sentence. For the
Way too
record,
many
Legacy
adjectives.
Digital Deluxe and Legacy Pro editions cost $8,100 and $120 a piece.
They played this like, I don't want to make this too personal of a statement, but they played this horrible cover of Space Oddity during this trailer
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And I thought it was fucking
Oof.
awful.
There should be like a rule that if a beloved celebrity dies, don't like,
put his fucking
use-
music in the trailer, yeah.
Give it a year, man. Otherwise, it just cynically, it makes you real cynical. You're like you're
Yeah.
trying to.
They think they're
focus
harnessing
course.
relevancy is what it is.
God, I hope they don't. I hope that
They
I hope
do.
that trailer was made before Bowie died. Honestly,
They go,
Otherwise, it
what do
just seems-
people... what are they talking about on social media? Let's use that.
That's
it's
terrible.
like the Battlefield 1 trailer uses Raspberry Beret by Prince.
It doesn't, but that would be.
It doesn't.
Okay.
That song, it does.
It uses Seven Nation Army, which is, like, I think top 3 in trailer songs.
Too.
Yeah.
You got, what do you got? You got Gary Jules' Mad World, got to be number 1.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is probably Tears for Fears. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. And then it's
The Inception song is on there for sure.
just the sound of like that's everywhere now.
And then the one that goes like wah, wah, and then there's the one that goes dinner, 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 dinner.
Yeah, no, I know those.
So, the Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That song is catchy as shit, though. Like, that's
true.
good. That's good. And it's powerful when you see the guy's got his arm, like, half cut off, and the other girl's sucking dick for crack.
Right? Yeah, no, I remember that. Well, let's talk about Battlefield 1 then for a second as well. So, where Infinite Warfare tried to go into the
where do
future,
Are we done with Call of Duty?
I feel like I'm done with Call of Duty.
Where do we sit on the new Call of Duty?
Okay, so having been a pretty staunch player of Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 back in the day.
A staunch player.
What is the word I'm looking
supporter?
for? A staunch supporter,
I was
that's
a
what it is. Yeah,
staunch-
staunch supporter.
Right.
I think it's starch.
I think a starch supporter, a French fry supporter of Call of Duty back in the day. I'm a little excited about the Modern Warfare remake, although I probably will not buy Infinite Warfare to get it. But
they'll sell it separately immediately after.
oh yeah, I'm sure. This certainly is not doing anything to make me interested in Call of Duty again. I can say that with confidence.
Do we know who's making this one?
This one is.
It's
let's see.
We talked about it on
right?
Skype, and
It
I
is
forgot
Infinity
already.
Ward. Yeah, it's Infinity
yeah,
Ward. Mhm.
it's Infinity Ward's turn, I think.
And does that
Infinity
matter
Warfare.
anymore?
No, I don't think it does.
Well, the last one they made was Ghosts. Is that
Which
correct?
Is it?
Bad if that was them.
The most poorly received one in the last 7 years, probably.
I bought it, and I have never played it.
I played half of Black Ops 3, and I thought it was really bad.
You thought it was bad, really?
Yeah,
Like how so?
really, really bad. Like, the story was just the stupidest thing. It
Well,
was
that doesn't
about
surprise
robot
me, yeah.
zombies. You gotta go in this underwater base and fight robot zombies. Like, what are you doing?
The stories have been shit essentially since the first Modern Warfare.
Since the Modern Warfare they're remaking, right? And,
Yes, but somehow you looked at it like an action movie, and it was just like, okay, here's another thing that explodes. Let's do this.
Mhm.
But this one is like they focused on it just long enough that you're like, oh, why am I doing any of this? I can just turn this off.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I try not to, be like, Call of Duty, ha ha ha, they're so stupid. But at the same time, this is really like I think the Call of Duty fans are beginning to sort of have that opinion about it, to where like, this is literally the same shit. Let's not do this again.
I think it's the same thing as like Assassin's Creed, where you're like, I mean, it's not enough to be good, like to be good enough. Like it has to actually do something that's new and exciting, and even like it's not even the setting now is still like. How many times have they gone to the near future or even like the semi-distant future?
Yeah,
it's like becoming played out now. It's like you have to choose. Like you can't have this kind of goodwill and come out with a game every single year and not change a whole bunch year to year. Like something's got to give at some point. You got to take more time off. You got to give people a chance to like play other stuff and like reinvent yourself a little bit so that people are excited. Otherwise, it has to be a masterpiece every time, and even if it is, people are like, I'm still sick of it, you know?
And like I do want to point this out before we even get to this point of how we say these things, yet Call of Duty continues to sell year after year.
I know.
And I'm almost positive that this will sell in abundance. Like I'm not even making that argument anymore because it's just sort of a given at this point. But I still think it's perfectly valid to say, it is selling, but are you proud of it? Like,
well, think of the tone that it sets. The fact that they're leveraging this remake that they know for a fact people want to buy to sell the new game says to me they're not very confident in it.
Yeah. I can sort of agree with
So
that.
they're coming down the hill of like, well, what do we really have to offer anymore? Now we've got to sell you a separate game to make you want this game.
And with that, like with the burnout on the future warfare stuff too, I think it's certainly reminiscent of, you remember just as recently as like 4 or 5 years ago, we were all talking about how sick we are of World War II shooters, right? Like that was so pervasive in the marketplace back then. I think it's sort of beginning to be a problem similar to that now, although I guess maybe it's just going to be a cycle. Now can I can segue now, right? Because we have a perfect segue here.
Yeah, now you can.
To Battlefield 1, which is going in the complete opposite direction. It's like, no, you don't want to go further north of World War II. You got to scale it back a little bit. You got to get, like, there was a First World War. Let's check that one out again. So Battlefield 1 has been announced. Battlefield 1 is what it's actually called, with the number 1. Which I guess just here's another funny thing. In order to revitalize your franchise, all you got to do is just start off at number 1 again, and then you can start doing Battlefield 1, Battlefield 2, Battlefield 3. It's just in the future.
Why don't you just call it Battlefield 1914?
Good. You got Battlefield 1942.
Battlefield 1 is horrible, and I mean the game, the trailer actually looks cool.
It does.
I will admit, but the title Battlefield 1 is. Yeah. Is there already a game that they've done recently that's just called Battlefield?
I think so.
Or did they, like,
Hold on.
if you're gonna like reboot your franchise a little bit, you go back to name. It's not name 1. Like Matrix is not called The Matrix 1. That would be stupid.
I know. It implies that you already knew there was a 2, which is like you're already acknowledging the thing you're trying to get away from.
Or they started at 0 or something. Like,
That's what I hated. The Xbox and then Xbox 360 and then Xbox One.
Yeah.
I know.
I understand.
You could be playing Battlefield 1 on Xbox One, and you're not talking about something you did in 2002.
Yeah.
True. You got Battlefield. I mean, you haven't ever had just Battlefield. In fact, I'm pretty sure there does not exist a game that's just called Battlefield. It started with Battlefield 1942, and then you've got Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2. You got Battlefield 1943, Battlefield 2142. They just they can continue the year, like the Battlefield year. I think that would be fine.
If they were smart, they would do Battlefield Civil War and release it at the same
there
time.
You go, man.
Nice.
And I would actually play that too. Actually, take it back a little further. You know, not as many Civil War era games as there are. You know, World War I, World War II.
Fucking Battlefield: The 100 Years' War,
yes,
where you're crossing the English Channel with your Welsh longbowmen trying to take over Agincourt.
Dude, Battlefield 7th Seal, aka Battlefield the Bubonic Plague.
Right, yeah.
AKA Battlefield the Black Death. You're not even fighting people. Well, you're sort of fighting people, but you're fighting, you know. And then at the end, you
Battle Seal. We'll just call it Battle Seal for short. Where it's like an Airbud, but it's this seal that goes out to war, right? And you play the seal. Yeah, it's sort of like a mix between Battlefield and Echo the Dolphin, where you've got like the land combat segments, and then you got to dive underwater and collect
Star Fox
rings.
Zero.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's probably a closer representation.
Star Fox Zero, where you walk as a chicken, and
or Battlefield Far Cry Primal. Just go back.
No. Hear me out.
Okay.
A game before mankind even existed. Cattlefield.
Where's the cow level?
Battlefield 1 takes
it's a
place
World War I shooter, right?
It's a World War I shooter, yeah, and
that's what the 1 stands for.
That's right, Nick.
Here's my soapbox. If they just called it Battlefield 1914, it would be a net good for society because so many more people would know when World War I started.
Now they're just going to think it started in the year 1. Like, that was when they started recording time.
That's why they call it World War I, right?
Sylvester Stallone, are you here?
Just call it Battlefield 1914, and then it even has a nicer cadence than Battlefield.
Guys, I didn't watch the trailer. I didn't know it was a World War I game. I just put the pieces together from context. I'm sorry.
This is just why I want us to make our own game company, because, like, we've already made a better game sitting here. the
No,
past.
we haven't. Come on, no.
Yes, we have. Come on, we're great idea people.
We are. That's
Ryan knows
true.
how to do it. He told us earlier about how you do the checkboxes, right? So we're most of the way there. We got the idea. We got Unity.
We got planes
Done.
that fly themselves. Games make themselves. So that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, man. I don't think I've played a World War One game. Period. Now that I think about it, I've probably just like the closest I've come is any of the Civilization games. Maybe if I want to count those scenarios in my repertoire, but yeah, this is.
I will not allow you to say that counts as a World War One game.
That's fair. I don't
Playing
think you should.
Civilization.
It looks more like Indiana Jones if he got enlisted. Right now, I'm seeing like, I don't know. It looks
like the character?
just I'm looking at the video, and then
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff looks like it's some Indiana Jones action sequences. You're on trains, you're in planes, you're doing everything.
They had a ton of trains back then. They will not
No,
stop talking about it.
They
Yeah,
won't
trains
shut
are
up
cool,
about
though.
trains. God.
Ooh, there's
So it takes place in like an alternate. Well, the theory, the
It
scuttlebutt.
doesn't.
is
Okay,
it's-
no, yeah, that was
The aliens invaded in World War I.
that was a theory for a little
That was
while. It was very
resistance.
quickly debunked that there was some sort of alternate reality World War One that they were exploring. Which I mean, that probably based on the reaction that Call of Duty's Infinite Warfare got, I guess people are just now looking for more of the authentic thing. And I'm wondering if we're just going into an eternal loop at this point, right? Where we're
I
going to get
saw
tired
a
of the future
concept.
games.
I saw a screenshot with like a huge fucking Zeppelin, like 10 feet above a World War One battlefield with tanks, and that's whether it's an alternate history or not. That's an alternate history.
That's true.
You
Yeah,
don't
that
see
does
a
sound about
hey, here's an artist's representation of Passchendaele. There's the fucking Hindenburg flying over
Well,
it, dropping.
Historical fiction, though, is not the same as an alternate reality, is it?
I think so.
Maybe
I
it
think
is.
we're splitting hairs
Yeah, we're
every time.
splitting hairs.
This sort of sounds synonymous to me, yeah. Battlefield 1 is a silly name, but I am a little excited just based on the reveal trailer. I think looks quite promising. But
that was all gameplay footage too, by the way.
yeah, really impressive. So cool stuff there. I mean, we want to apply a little bit of that trailer, take it with a grain of salt attitude, right? But still, it is, I mean, I'm honestly, like, my expectations for graphics have actually become more in line with what I'm seeing in trailers, like for the games that I've played recently. I'm starting to become
That's how they get
pretty
ya.
blown away. I know. It's like I'm trying to retain my cynicism, but at the same time, it's really exciting, man. Things are looking
If you
good
need a
now.
refresher, you come talk to me. I'll hook you up. I got all the cynicism you need.
All right, duly noted. Okay, yeah, Battlefield 1, Call of Duty, all this stuff, it's all good. Let's wrap it up, though, and send it into everybody's favorite segment. It's Ask Roundtable. Ask Roundtable is the weekly segment where you send your questions into roundtableyt@gmail.com, and we do our best to answer them. This week's question comes from Brian. Brian says, one of the more contentious topics in gaming, it seems, is how reviews are done, mainly the scoring systems. What is your preferred way of representing your feelings about a game, or do you eschew the idea of quantifying your reaction at all, preferring only what the reviewer's words are and not the final score? Thank you, Brian, for that question. Really good question. Actually ties in quite well with our conversation matter today. So, Nick, what are your thoughts here?
All right. I think there's a little bit of an open space for all of the different elements, but my own personal preferred solution here is to get a sort of a vague little synopsis coupled with a very vague sort of I like it or don't like it, and then I'll watch like 30 minutes of someone playing it. That's super not traditional, but that seems to get me where I need to go for general consensus. And that's why you guys are great for that, because you all do that already, and I can just ask you what you think.
Yeah, more or less, sometimes this just acts as like our own vetting system for games that we all want to play, because we'll just sit
Exactly.
here and be like, oh yeah, that does sound great. Let's check that out later. Ryan, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I don't care.
Surprising.
But if a scoring system has to be used, I prefer that it is as close to binary as possible. I prefer, thumbs up, thumbs down to out of 5. I prefer out of 5 to out of 10. I prefer out of 10 to out of 10, but now we have half points. I prefer out of 10 with half points to now we're out of 10, but we also have 2 decimal points. So, what do you feel
Yeah.
about this game? Oh, I'm not sure if it's worth a 91, maybe like an 89.76. And like I definitely prefer the arbitrary decimal points to, well, we split the game into 5 categories and then the score for each of those categories individually.
Like back in the day, man, that was the shit. That was exactly what I looked for. I was like, okay, who's separating it into gameplay, sound, story, all this shit, you know? That was what I looked for.
I disagree. I think we all looked for those little bullet points underneath the number score, and we would read up the plus, minus, and the question mark, and that's where the actual information was contained if you're going for the fast stats.
Yeah.
Can I just say that I'm so happy that we're not like, I won't speak for you guys. I'm so happy that we're not like traditional game reviewers, because whenever I read a review on a gaming website, it's always like, I gave it an 8, and then the people in the comments are offended. They're like, well, I read the review. It looks more like an 8.3, but you only gave it an 8, you fucking asshole. Like, this person sits in their office and plays through like a 40-hour game in a week and makes no money and then writes a review so that you can be informed about your purchase. And then you haven't even played it, and you leave a comment that's like, whoa, the score seems a little harsh
based on the
relative
words
to
you
what
used.
you wrote.
Yeah.
Like, that is crazy to me, man. But we get off so easy on YouTube that we're not giving it we're not giving it a quantifiable score. So, man, I hate to read that shit. You're like, the whole review is there. People that are like evangelists for the company are like, dude, you might want to rethink this score. It's gonna make their Metacritic drop 0.3%. You're like,
yeah.
Person's there for you, man.
What do you think, Fox?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, with any sort of system, you need to be consistent and you need to have your guidelines and stuff like that, right? You see it all the time of people complaining about the score, right? They'll say, somebody will review this game and they'll say, oh, this is a great feature. And then you'll see another game reviewed and it's kind of trashed a little bit because it has the exact same feature or something like that. And, it could be completely different reviewers, but they're under one site, one umbrella. And people start arguing that there's no real consistency with the numbers and stuff like that. You need to have like a freaking scientific method if you're going to have an out of 10 system, right? And going back to the whole story, gameplay, this and that. I mean, that only applies to certain games, right? It's how do you do story for Madden or NHL or any sports games and stuff like that. And in that case, you're deviating. You're having a kind of different rating system for sports games, for racing games, for this game and that game, and all this shit. So it's just like, I feel like, people a lot of time they have the intention of trying to quantify it, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that just go to the website and they want to, okay, 8 out of 10, great. I trust this guy enough. I don't need to read his review, kind of thing. But I don't know. I used to think more in line, like when I was younger, kind of, numbers are okay and stuff like that. But as I've come to play games and stuff like that, it's just too arbitrary. One day a guy finishes his review and he's like, yeah, it seems like what I said here is an 8, but then the next week he could have some shit gone down in his life and, oh no, it's an 8.5. Who knows? There's so many external factors that can kind of change your feelings about a game. So like Ryan, huh?
Oh, I heard a train horn or something in the background.
Yeah, me too.
Fucking foamers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the whole Rotten Tomatoes, is it fresh or not, is generally, or thumbs up, thumbs down. That's ultimately the best thing as a reviewer you can do, because it's a little more broad. It's like, okay, yeah, it's worth your time, at least. Which is a lot easier to say as a reviewer than, this is worth a 7.2.
Yeah, I think, like we have the Metacritic sort of overarching theme, I guess, that it feels like it has to exist more than it benefits us to exist to a certain extent, because, like, people need that quantifiable number for some reason. People need to see out
They're
of
drawn to
10
it.
or out of 5. Yeah, there's an appeal to it. I won't I won't pretend that I'm immune to that, you know? Like I certainly enjoy seeing scores as well. It's just there's something to it that makes it easier to understand. But
Well-
I think ideally, no, sorry, go ahead.
Once you get numbers, people assume that there's somehow a correlation with them being objective or factual statistics.
Yeah.
And people want to see all those numbers added up, and they forget, because I guess it's sort of a fallacy, that like all of those individual things are based on completely subjective opinions.
Yeah.
Just turning them into numbers doesn't make them facts now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
in fact, it makes it murkier than ever, because you can't even get back to the original intention when those numbers were written. So it's a pretty wild thing, but we seem to really have a thing about numbers and wanting to see them quantified that way.
Definitely.
And as objective as people may try to be as reviewers and stuff, you know, there's so many that they'll go, oh, you know, what did Giant Bomb rate this? Or I'm going to read their review, how they felt about it, you know, maybe to justify my feelings for it or against it. I know I'm going to go to this other one. And there's certainly a bit of bias potentially involved in that. It's like, okay, well, I was thinking of giving it an 8, but these guys gave it an 8.5, so maybe that's, you know.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately the best way to be objective and truthful is just to say this game has a 10-hour campaign, a nonstop action-packed, you know, I really like that. Or this game, the campaign was only 4 hours, I really hate that. You don't need to assign, well, okay, it was only a 4-hour campaign, so now it's down from a 7.5 to a 7.
Yeah,
But it's got this, now it's back up to a 7.2. Just the bullet points, you know, you have your big review. Thumbs up, thumbs down, have the pros and cons. I think that's the best, but, I mean, as soon as you do that, you start killing off a lot of the industry, the aggregates and things of that nature. So I don't think we'll ever get to that.
Yeah, there's like a whole argument to be made there too about whether or not that's even necessary. That's sort of the grander point I was sort of hinting at there as far as Metacritic's need in the industry. But I think for the most part, I tend to agree with you guys. I think ideally what I would like to have is like not necessarily a binary system, but something like I like this, I don't like this, or like I recommend this, but with caveats, you know, or caveats. Yeah. Like that would be the ideal system for me, where you just have that is the staple, and we don't use any of these silly 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 systems. Like think about back when YouTube had the 1 to 5 star rating system too. Like they had that and then switched it to just thumbs up and thumbs down because nobody uses the other ratings. They're useless. It's just like if you like it, it's a 5. If you hate it, it's a 1. Nobody's rating shit 2 or 4 stars. It doesn't help anybody. So yeah, I think just in general, for the most part, when you're looking at ways to garner feedback from something, I think the binary thumbs up, thumbs down, or just as I mentioned, having a way to introduce potential problem causers in the reviews ideal too. I don't read.
There's
really
also it's
sorry.
like I guess the reason that a lot of people like reviews is they're like, oh, I'm thinking of buying, you know, The Witcher 3 or Metal Gear Solid 5. Let me open 30 tabs in Chrome and like get the meta scores up and then read a couple of reviews. Like I get that. I think the reason I prefer like a thumbs up and thumbs down system is because if I'm looking at content for a game, it presupposes that I'm interested in playing it if it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess there's a kind of a min-maxy of obsession in games of like, you know, you only have a limited amount of time, limited amount of money. You want to play the absolute best stuff and only that. That I guess I don't relate to as much, but I can understand if I put myself in the shoes of somebody who's like, you know, 16 years old and they can only buy one of 2015's greatest games, then there's a little bit more relevance. And I guess that's also how you end up getting that level of fandom where the majority of the reviews that you read are for shit that you already own, just getting mad that somebody underrated it when you've got a lot of investment in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Do you think the best reviews come out of an opinion in a vacuum, or do you think the best reviews come out of ones that have been sort of smoothed a little bit by having discussions with peers and things? Because I'm kind of leaning towards the latter, but I also see why the former is relevant too.
I think there's certainly value in both. I think like the value that just your vacuum experience brings to the table is like they sort of work in congruence with one another, you know? Like you have to bring your individual viewpoint into the discussion in order to actually make it viable and valid. So Yeah,
I was thinking over my own process essentially and kind of came to the same conclusion because when I'm trying to play through something, I'll stream through it. I'll have chat there. We're kind of like having an ongoing dialogue through it.
Yeah.
Then I'll finish it. I'll give my thoughts for 15 minutes or so. And then I'll think about it for the next couple of days and usually have a discussion with one of you guys or somebody else. And that by the end of that process feels like about where I ended up landing with my actual opinion. And if I have a really positive experience and it lasts all the way through all of that, I feel like I'm pretty happy saying I'll commit to this idea for the long term.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, we're good.
I like that question.
Yeah, it was a
I
great
love
question.
these really meta questions about how this whole industry works. They're fun.
Thank you, Brian, for that. Appreciate it. If you want to send in questions to Ask Roundtable, you can do so. roundtableyt@gmail.com. I'm eventually going to get that in this graphic. I know that would be the first logical step, but for now, I'll just keep saying it out loud. And time for everybody's favorite segment after their favorite segment. It's Nick's Weird Games. Nick's going to go grab a weird game from his catalog of Nick's Weird Games.
True.
We're going to try to guess it based on the hints he provides. For the theme song, I mean, let's keep the theme here.
Space Oddity.
Oh,
Space
okay.
Oddity.
I mean, if
Go,
you
Ryan.
feel you can do it.
Ryan's
Okay.
doing
I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
All right.
This is Roundtable to Nick's Weird Games. He's getting a weird game. And then we're all going to try to guess its name. And I hope that it came out in 2008. Again, it came out okay. And here, Nick's returning with his weird game.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, that's perfect.
From his bedroom shelf. It is from 2002, released for PlayStation 2. Down.
Down. All right, you got it. Wow, that was great. Well done.
Sounds like I missed a good one. I'll have to go back and check that one. You know, I've established kind of a ritual now, and I pull these games off the shelf. They're all coated with a layer of dust on the top, so I've got this like shitty old pillow that I just wipe the top of the game off on.
It's just covered with 40 episodes worth of dust
Yeah.
now, right?
Might
gross.
be a little dust on the bottle, but don't let it fool you about what's inside.
What's that?
A Nick's
Yeah.
weird game in
Might
is
be.
inside, I suppose.
Oh, okay.
Little dust on the bottle.
All right, Nick's
All
Weird
right,
Games.
so I hope that this is a game I haven't done before. I looked through the list that I made and I didn't see it, but I feel like I missed it for some reason. It just, I don't know. I'm doing it anyway, though.
Okay.
All right, so I've got for you today a Gothic opera.
Minimize
if you can
chat.
believe that.
Minimize
PS2 game, also came out on PC. This
Messiah.
was... Sorry?
Messiah.
No. Came out in 2003. And, okay, the difference was between August and December for PS2 and Windows. Is an action-adventure hack-and-slash. And
Says a
you play as
Gothic-
protagonist Zieg Warheit. That's a very German name.
Yes.
You're a knight of the Dark Glyphs who are on a quest to command the Order of Saint Overia. Wow.
Developed.
You
Pretty
listening
weird.
to Space Oddity over there? What's going on? Just bobbing?
I think they're just quietly jacking it.
All right, that's fine.
I don't know.
Keep going.
Okay, so it's developed by Capcom Production Studio 6 and published by Capcom. Single player only.
2003.
He said it was like
2003, yeah.
a gothic. What did you say? A gothic what?
Gothic opera.
Okay.
And it's pre Devil May Cry, or 1 year post Devil May Cry. It's Capcom Gothic Opera. Bet it, Dollars Donuts has got some stupid fucking half Latin name with a colon in it. It'll be like,
It actually doesn't, believe it or not.
Lift Shitters, Lux Eterna's Fortune or something like that.
That's a great name.
Lift Shitters.
Lift Shitters.
The people that shit in elevators, right? That's their whole shtick. Oh man, I got nothing. No gothic operas in my lexicon.
Is it
Just-
Zelda?
I'm scanning for... Yeah, it's not Zelda. Scanning for anything that might be relevant. Let me look at the back of the box here for a
Is it
second.
Martian Gothic?
How's chat
Well, on the
doing?
back of the box, it actually says the PSM quote here. If you loved
Okay.
Devil May Cry, you'll love
Is it
the title of this
Ah,
game.
Enter the
Oh.
Matrix?
Does not Enter the Matrix.
That's a great game.
It is.
You can play as Niobe.
Yeah, and I did.
A graphic masterpiece and savage gothic opera played out through intense and challenging
Yeah.
levels
You
of
didn't tell me it
real-time
was
cutthroat
savage.
action.
Shit.
Now I'm reading their back of the box stuff. There's actually very little on here.
All right.
Mostly just a picture.
How many words?
It's a 2-word title.
Is it apostrophes noun?
No, it's got to be like,
No,
okay,
it's
so
not.
one of them's an
Actually,
adjective.
it's,
One of them's an adjective. It's got to be like, it's got to be, you know,
I think if we're breaking down
Mad.
parts of speech, you're out
or
at this point.
like evil.
Chad got it a while ago,
Did
so
I?
I think we're done. Sorry, it looks like we've... Oh, our friends are falling off their respective regions.
Ryan farted.
That's not fart. That's the chair.
All right, what we
You
got,
I
ready?
do that. I could do this. All right, today's game is called Chaos Legion. There it is.
Chaos Legion.
That's what I said.
Liar. You're a liar.
Chaos is pretty close to Savage.
Yeah, we
It
get
is. All right, let's see who got it in chat. I saw a lot of
there.
answers. That was correct.
I think we
I see
hit a winner here.
Dorkfang, I believe was the first. Oh no, Jizztastic Unicorn, actually.
Yeah, all right, just tastic
Jizztastic
unicorn.
Unicorn.
Mom, you're not supposed to be watching.
All right.
The story of Chaos Legion is a gothic opera which begins November, 791 AS (parentheses) Anno Satanis. The protagonist, Sig Vorheit, is a knight of the Dark Glyphs who is on a quest under command of the Order of
He's a
Saint
glyph
Overia to find his former friend, Victor Delacroix, who has stolen the forbidden book, the Apocrypha of Izark, and to stop him from releasing the evil spirit Azrael, who would destroy the 3 planes of existence, the nether world, the middle world, and the celestial world.
You were right in everything except the title about the concept. You nailed the concept well.
Good. Thanks for watching Roundtable Live today, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us live here on twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast. If you missed any part of the show today, you can catch the VOD here on Twitch as long as I don't delete it, or you can catch the VOD over on our YouTube channels. That's any of our names here in the boxes. You can see them. You got them all. You can check the show out over on iTunes. You can rate it 5 stars there. We really appreciate that. You can give us show discussion and feedback over at roundtablepodcast.reddit.com. Follow us on Twitter at RoundtablePC. And we want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/roundtable as well. Thank you guys very much for getting all those little $1, $2, $5 pledges in. All those add up in a big way, so thank you very much for doing that. I want to give a special shout out to those of or the patrons that have been supporting at the $20 tier or above. Those include Julian Avelsgaard, Scrody119, Polecat, Greenlight, Mavier, Oren, Saltzman, Christopher Flagg, General Crunk, Alexander Spillman, Jonathan Graham, Matt. I'm going to read these backwards this time for fun. Ignacio0891, Positron, Justin, Logan Ray, Smurfette, Super Monoman, Mediocrities, Eric Schooley, Myth Scarab, and Brizzlebrip. There we go. All right, thank you very much. The patrons over on patreon.com/roundtable. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Roundtable Live. We'll be back tomorrow, next week at 3 p.m. Pacific here on Twitch. And thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.